Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
It's all your fault. It's all your fault, gentlemen. All the mess, all society, all the politics, everything is your fault. You did this to me! Now I gotta clean up your mess. Oh boy, yeah, that's Brittany Renner in the thumbnail. You're right. I've got Rian Stone. Today is going to be a very fun show. Pure entertainment. Nothing but pure entertainment.
My body count. I don't know why in like 2018 that's any of your fucking business or why it matters. But 24. 11 athletes. Woo! 5 entertainers. Woo! 8 regular guys. Woo! I've only fucked 3 regular guys since I've been Instagram famous because a lot of y'all run your fucking mouths too much. I don't want to be sending you a video 1 minute, the next minute I see me spread eagle on the timeline playing with my pussy. In my experience, the worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms, really. So if y'all really want to try to come up off a check off a man, I mean, you could just fuck an athlete. They're really dumb. I don't like talking about my history with men I'm dating, I guess until now, because most of the guys that I've dealt with are gonna have more money than you. And you're gonna feel a way about it. I know the male ego is fragile, like the ball sack that hangs in between your legs. In conclusion, like, I don't even look at people as like trashy or not. It all comes down to mentality for me. Hey y'all!
2021.
It's officially stepdaddy season. Yeah, what up? I got the car seat in the back. Let's go to the park. Don't let your baby mama or your baby daddy block your blessings. I know in theory it sounds good keeping the same person to have kids with, but that's insanity as well. So if it doesn't work out with them, it'll work out with someone else. Okay? It just will. That's how that goes. And trust me, I know it's ghetto. It is so ghetto being a baby mama, and thinking about multiple baby daddies is scary. But me and my baby gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. So we're moving forward, onward, upward. Okay. I know a lot of you are skeptical about talking to people with children, but I can assure you, the baby mamas now, today, we don't give a damn. You can have them. I have exited the rat race. I am not a threat. I want you to be around for a long time, not a good time. You can hold my son, put him on your story. I trust his judgment. I really do. I really, really do. I just want you guys to be happy. I swear I do. Now, I'm not a threat, but you know, I can't speak for the other hoes that you don't know about. You know, maybe odds ever be in your favor. But I am here for it. Okay, like, people move on. Save the, you should have got the ring first. It wasn't gonna work out anyways. It just wasn't gonna work out. Let's laugh together and let's raise this baby, you know? Oh, it's ghetto. It's so fucking ghetto. In conclusion, stepdaddy season. Big aura. Big lumber, big follow through, need only apply.
All right, gentlemen. There you go. And I got Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, for finally showing up here. Thank you for putting up with that with me. I saw it, and you have to see it too.
What was that?
Well, that was
in conclusion. Is that an essay?
Come on, man.
It's the female Rollo Tomassi. I've got an article on this.
No. Yeah. Like, guys, you're all responsible for that. Every last bit of that, you're all responsible. You're personally responsible for it. That's you. It's on you, guys. The women would be better if men would be better too. I don't think so. Ah, man. What do you got in the glass there, Ryan?
American style iced tea. I've been loving it lately.
Oh, sweet or unsweet?
It's mostly unsweet. I have half a pump of like sugar-free peach in there. I don't know why. Because did you know, like, you know how you have peach iced tea down in the States, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that in Canada. I've been looking everywhere for it. I literally have to fly down there one day just to like contraband a package of it back here.
God, yeah. Let me tell you something. There's a qualifiable difference between the iced tea in the South and then there is in the North. Because, man, they don't even ask you if you want sweet tea in like Mississippi. It just comes to you sweet.
Fair enough. Oh,
yeah. So that was Brittany Renner. Brittany Renner, in case you guys don't know, because there's a lot of guys that probably don't know who Brittany Renner is, although maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe now they do.
I don't want to see a rapper?
The first aren't they all? All those girls, every girl at Fashion Fit could give you some bars, right? I mean, they'll just lay it on you.
She's one of the White Claw brigade.
No, this isn't one of those though. Brittany Renner she is world class. Let's just say, there is, let's see, if there is a major league for ratchet hoes, she's one of them. She's at the top of her game right now. The first video was from her in 2018. And that's when she was talking about how she was, data an athlete, they're dumb as hell. and it's like, and she's very outspoken and very, well known for this kind of crap. She has a book out too, and I forget the name of the book off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in the chat will throw this at me. And then yes, Jimmy, I realized that's actually why I picked up on this. I didn't even know who she was until I heard the story about PJ Washington. Now, Ryan doesn't know.
Is he a rapper?
Washington is? No, he is not.
Is anybody a rapper?
NBA is a very good athlete. Let's just say.
Gotcha.
He's a basketball player. And poor PJ got involved with our good friend Brittany in spite of himself and in spite of really, if you looked at her Instagram, TikTok, whatever, any of her social media, really, you kind of got an idea what she's really about. She is nuts. And let's be honest, especially that last one. It's like those are the ramblings of somebody who is not right in the head. And but what I think is interesting is, like, even in spite of what is clearly some kind of personality disorder, and you guys can, I'm not going to play armchair therapist today. We're going to have enough therapists on today's show to cover that aspect, because I got a bunch of other stuff going on, and we're going to talk about your video as well. Ryan, but I wanted to put these on there because, and then of course I knew this was going to happen as soon as I put this title out there, and as soon as I put the thumbnail out there, I knew everybody was going to say that, women are only as bad as men allow them to be. Well, that might have been true a while ago. That might have been true, like, I don't know, the late 60s, early 70s, maybe even into 80s. But I think that there's this presumption that men have this, like, we are our sister's keepers, right? I've written that. That's a chapter in one of my books. It's actually a pretty big. I have an essay for that, Ryan, in case you didn't know. But
it's said with love, by the way.
Yes,
it's said with love.
Yeah. I get it. That's why I'm going to put that on my freaking headstone. That's going to be my epitaph. So, and I'll have a little like URL or a little QR code on my headstone. I'm going to do that.
That would be funny.
But anyways, I have heard that. And yes, if the title of this video and the thumbnail of this video were a little clickbaity, then yeah, you got the right idea. We're doing red meat, but we're doing sizzle and steak on the Rational Male Show. But this right here is a lot of red meat. I mean, let's be honest. But when I listen to this voice, this is like somebody that's like a lot of women in that, let's just say subculture, are she's got a lot of followers. Let's just be honest. Somebody will go and get it for me, I'm sure, what her follower count is. And I'm wonder how many of her books how many copies of her books she's sold to. But she's very open and sort of in your face about this. And so, anyways, the reason why this has made a big stink lately, and I'm just now getting around to it, is PJ Washington was the basketball guy. He got on, and I want to say he's on the Hornets. I'm pretty sure he is. And he got in with this girl, knocked her up as she said she wanted to be. And within, I think, 2 weeks or a few weeks after the birth of the child, or after she got married to the guy, and then a few weeks after that, she ended up divorcing the guy after the baby's born. And now she is the single mommy she planned to be as far back as 2018. And now here's the way you do things. This is what we do. Now, this might seem like, there's some other stuff that we're going to dig into today. I want to dig into your video as well that you put out, because I think it's relevant to what I want to get into by, like, say, the 45-minute mark on this show. Because you did a good job, man. I looked at that and I was like, man, because you were mentioning that after we were done with Rule 0 yesterday, and I'm like, I gotta go check that out, and like the full video, and I'm like, oh yeah, this will dovetail nicely into what I want to do today.
I hate it so much. I hate all of these videos.
I love this. Okay, so what? I'll give everybody in the chat and all our viewers here a little bit of a preface here, like I do. Ryan did a video on that TikTok girl, and you covered a little bit of what I've talked about in the past, and like I think both of us have, as female solipsism as an innate feature of females' evolved nature. And a lot of people want to say, well, that's just men not being men and not taking responsibility, and they wouldn't be who they are or what they are men just get in there and take care of the little lady.
And the reason I love this shit, I hate the video, but the reason I love this shit is because that's exactly what every idiot does. He's like, we can fix the women. We can break women down. Either they're trying to break them apart like a Swiss watch to figure them out, or they're saying I can fix her even though she doesn't want to be saved. I just took the piss with this. I'm like, here's what she's doing. Here's why she's doing it, most likely. And here's why you're not going to be able to change her from doing that. As you notice, like the whole video from her, the gist of it is she puts this dude on blast for leaving like 10 voicemail messages during a date. Basically, he's codependent, right? Puts him on blast, doxes him to the internet. Nobody's going to stop her, and everybody's just yelling at her. And every time she gets yelled at, she gets more followers. So she's like, perfect, I need more followers. Keep yelling. And I'm just like, this is what we do, the actionable shit, the difference, right? Okay, here's the scenario. What do you do with this? It's like, first off, stop telling girls about your feelings. Secondly, and I found an old one, she used to be like the fat chick. I know there was a lot of MGTOW guys who talk about get them when they're fat and they'll be loyal to you. And it's like, nope. She was the fat kid in high school that got bullied, and the engineer found a special thing in her, and he called her fat once. Then she got thin and ditched him, and now she's dating Chads. And every Chad she dates is ditching her, and every one that's really nice or codependent, she's putting on blast. I'm like, holy crap. If I didn't know any better, I'd say she was like read The Rational Male, and she's like force-fitting this stuff. It just hits all the beats.
Reading the book these days, and you know what I'm talking about.
Don't do this shit. All you have to do is not do this, and these things won't apply to you. Or you can watch MGTOWs cry about how women ain't worth it. I don't know.
I think I did a poll one time, and I asked the guys. I said, if you're with a chick, if you're like, let's say you're dating a chick or you're getting with a chick, whatever, and she's thin and she looks good, but then she like shows you like her Instagram, or she shows you some pictures of when those are my fat pictures. Like she shows you when she was overweight, but now she's not overweight. And now she looks good. She actually did something. She got in the gym. She took care of herself, diet, nutrition, whatever. And so she's on top of her game. Do you trust her not to get fat again later on? I'm always wondering about that. Like, because I wonder how guys think, oh, well, yeah, she's really dedicated. She's a gym rat now. She suddenly has changed her mind about things. Is she doing that because she wants to get laid, or she wants to get a guy? She wants to like lock a guy down, and then later on she's going to go, okay, I got the dude, I'm going to get fat. That's similar to what Brittany Renner was talking about here. Right?
Yeah,
get a baby, lock down a guy, and then once I'm done, hey, I'm gone. I got the child seat in the back.
Dude, I just know when I was dating, I had one rule: whatever I think girls are thinking, the only thing I can take as true is I'm always wrong. I hate the idea of like, what is she thinking? Let's break down what's in her mind. And I'm just like, I just focus on what's right in front of me. Yeah, she used to be fat. She is thin now. Is she acting right? Good. Is she not acting right? Because I find it's never like some guy getting divorced or some girl balloons after she, gets knocked up or whatever. All this stuff never just happens. And it was like, oh, I should have known she had a tattoo on her left leg. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's always, she was slowly being worse and worse and worse. And I just ignored all the warning signs. So I'm like, I'll deal with those. If I get all that stuff out of there and then I find out that's not enough, then I'll deal with, well, if she's a former fat girl. But until then, I'm not a very good Nostradamus, I guess. I don't think most guys are, but they love to be. And it makes good TV when like Donovan's ranting about his 18 checkpoint list of what makes a girl a good girl. So I don't know.
Right.
What do I know?
I mean, oh man. Oh, you remember this because I know you got in on this this tweet too. Remember the girl? I think she's some conservative like kind of girl who is she's a gym girl, and a lot of the trad con follows that I have on Twitter follow her. I don't know what her name was.
See that margarita one?
It might be, but she posted that picture of her, and it was like her like in a post-workout picture or something, and she's got like a tat. She's got just not she's not like sleeves or anything, but she's got like a tat here, like I think on her shoulder, and then she had a tat on her leg, and then the first thing she prefaces the whole thing with, well, not looking for comments from the manosphere or something like that, or not looking for
from beta males.
Yeah, have at it. I know what the beta males are going to say, kind of thing, right? Or incels. I was. Okay, incels, let me have it. Like knowing full well that if she posts a picture and she didn't look bad, but she would, it was the tats. And I think a lot of people were like, what's she talking about? I wonder what is this all about? And I knew immediately what it was. And so I didn't say anything. I retweeted my standard picture of the Lamborghini with the back of the Lamborghini with the bumper stickers on the back of the Lamborghini. And people started laughing because they get it. And then of course you got all these guys who go literalist on you, like, I don't understand what this means. Can you explain? And it's like, no, I'm not going to explain. Not this time. I'm not going to explain this to you.
Oh, dude, I those baits are such bait. Like it's so obvious. It's literally, remember like those crappy Nickelodeon movies where the guy's like, gee, I hope that piano doesn't fall on me, and they go walking underneath it and it falls, and then you realize it's not funny. I think that's like the Twitter clout version of that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm red pilled and jaded now. I just look at those and I'm just like, oh, that's cute. I hope it works out for you.
I think what's funny is like the idea or the advertising or marketing model of popular like Hollywood films is now trickling into sort of the sisterhood right now.
Oh, you mean like the piss off sexless virgin?
Yes. Yeah,
marketing plan.
Well, okay, so here's the best example of this is when Ms. Marvel was put out, and I think they knew it was going to be a bomb, right? Mm-hmm. And so what they do is, of course, they have a whole PR team and a marketing team that's already ready and installed with their social media and everything else. And so when the reviews tank or whatever, they try to get them up. They try to at least in some way say, hey, this wasn't like a wasted effort kind of thing. It's really part of the Marvel universe, right? And they knew damn well that it was going to be just this abortion, right? It was just going to be this horrible movie. And they do this a lot with like female, like gender swapped retellings of an old story, or like Ghostbusters, the female edition,
the new Terminator, the new Ghostbusters.
So now they have learned that they preempt that by going, yeah, well, okay, incels, let me have it, because they know that if it flops, it's those guys' fault. If you don't like the way I look, here, like, give me the comments. It's kind of like in before. Whatever it is, that's what it is right now. It's like Hollywood does the same thing. It's like in before the misogyny hits, in before, because there's so many guys, and it's just like they're kind of already presuming the sale. It's like bad debate technique. It's like assuming the point, I think is what it's called.
And the funniest part too, every Nerdtronic, like every quartering, like all of those guys, well, how many Captain Marvel videos did they have calling her trash? Like hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm remembering source amnesia. Like I'm trying to learn marketing now. And I'm like, oh my God. So all you have for 3 months is angry guys yelling Captain Marvel. Month 3, the only thing in your head is Captain Marvel, and you forget why you remember it. And I'm assuming you put it up on Netflix and like, oh, I'll watch it. Why not? I'm like, it's goddamn brilliant. Razor Fist. I loved his takedown of the new He-Man for that.
Yes.
Did you watch that video?
Yeah, I love Razor Fist. Razor Fist, if you're watching, please follow me back.
Yeah.
I've been following him for so long, and everybody on the Masculine Geek Show has followed him for so long, and I'm like, dude, I retweet your shit all the time. Please. He's a good dude, though. He's very entertaining, and he's got a very sharp wit. Let's just say
He got a good radio voice too. I'm impressed.
and he does. Yeah. He's definitely got an announcer voice. So I wanted to like to preempt some of this kind of stuff, because what your video was about, and really what the Brittany Renner thing here is. Let me just finish the Brittany Renner story. If you don't know who PJ Washington is, go look up or Google PJ Washington. Look at the situation that's going on between him and Brittany Renner, and a lot of guys immediately jumped all over this, and they go, "Well, it was PJ Washington's fault. He should have known better. He shouldn't have stepped in that pit. He should have. I mean, how do you not know that Brittany Renner was a psychotic, bipolar?"
Which isn't wrong, but not very helpful as a statement.
Well, yeah. Okay. So if somebody digs a pit and they put spikes in the pit and they cover the pit, and you walk over the pit and you fall in the pit, and people say, well, you should have seen the pit right there. What's wrong with you? Don't you know there's pits around here? You got to be more careful, my friend. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the pit. Look where you are, right?
But you're right. Where was that guy before he started walking towards the pit to tell him that?
Too. Yeah. Okay. So how does he do that? That's number one. And then second of all, it's like, who dug the damn pit? Who put spikes in the pit? Who set the trap for you? Like, do they not in some way bear responsibility for you being in the pit? Yeah, you're ass out. You're screwed. But okay, but there's still some balance of responsibility for that. And I think one of the things that guys end up doing a lot is they want to blame each other for their own misfortunes. Like for women, it's easy to play the victim card. I've done the victim videos before, right? To be like, for women, like women's victimhood is endemic to the female experience. Okay. There is no way a woman is not going to say, oh, I was born a victim. Like they're not going to leverage that in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And it's not so much about being a victim. It's that women are the vulnerable sex. And along with that vulnerable sex status comes a certain degree of victimhood. And so in a social sense, we build on that. Men want to protect women. They see this and they go, you're the vulnerable sex, honey. You've always been a victim, but not with me. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to take care of the kid. It's that it starts to
she just leans in on it.
It
sounds good, man. I'm the victim.
Men adapting to women's victimhood as a form of game. Right.
I think it's women adapting to it by
damseling.
like gamifying our instinct more so than us adapting to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think us becoming more callous would be the adaptation. We just don't have that. I mean, which I guess probably would be a good thing we don't have that. Otherwise, cavemen would have just died off, right?
Right. Well, and it comes back to like, well, of course, women want long-term security, right? They want that. Well, on the beta buck side of hypergamy, it's the 3 P's. It's protection, parental investment, and provisioning. Those are the 3 P's, right? So if she can get that by making an appeal to, oh, save me, like in what was it, Dragon Slayer, save me.
Yeah.
If they can get that, then of course they're going to use that, and they're going to adapt that to part of girl game, right? Especially if they're looking for security.
And you know what? She's not even committed. She's very lazy at this. The Ray Rice girlfriend or wife or whatever, she was committed to that bit. I'll give her credit there. You want to play the victim? That elevator ass whooping scene? It's all yours, man. She won. She was committed to the bit. This one just like crying in her car. I'm just like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I think you could do better.
Well, and that's another thing. It's like you got to remember that Brittany Renner has a lot of money. Even before this, she had a lot of money.
Like before she got knocked up?
She doesn't have to do videos in her suburban or whatever she's in the middle of a park. She could go.
Oh, so you mean from the child support she's getting paid?
Oh, yeah, well, that's the other thing right now. She was getting paid before that because she was a model and everything else, and everyone
like
wanted
a foot
to
model?
No, she was.
I guess that pregnancy was hard.
I will give Brittany Renner this. She is leveraging her sex appeal in like any other girl would be at that time and that age. I don't know. Can somebody grab me the age for Brittany Renner? I would almost. I'm convinced she's just about ready for the epiphany phase if she's not already there.
Brittany
and this is
Renner.
her marketing it. This is her, building
She's
up.
29.
29.
Look at
Bingo.
that.
Well, wait, oh man, wait, where did it go? Here we go.
Gotcha, bitch.
There it is. Yep.
Fucking so-
29. She's 29. She's not 38.
Oh, you weren't joking too. She's got like the
That
Bratz
was
doll
lame.
ratchet look to her.
That was funny. Yeah, so here she is, right? And I think as I've said before, and I will say it once again because there's lots of essays for this, women on some level of consciousness realize that their sex appeal, their sexual market value is perishable. And when they get to a certain point, like 29 years old, 30, 31 years old, that's when they have to cash out. And I did not have this, but I just picked this up off of Twitter. I had a somebody, I think I put it on my Instagram. Some chick had said, like when you get to be like 29 years old or 30 years old, it's like leaving the club, trying to find a guy who wants to leave the club at the same time as you. And I was like, are you reading my book? Are you reading The Rational Male? Because that's almost like verbatim what I've said in The Rational Male about that kind of stuff. So
I find it funny, man. It's hilarious. What can you do but laugh?
Yeah, well, exactly. And every now and then somebody will throw like a data set at me. They'll say, what is it? Hollywood actors, like male and female, and they will say the height of their, like, at what age do they sort of like peak when they're actors and actresses. For men, it looks almost identical to like they come up and then they have a slow descent when it comes to, say, like, right around their mid-20s or so into their 30s, and then they kind of gradually descend. For women, it spikes right at 23 or right in the mid-20s, and then it sharply drops off, and it almost mirrors the graph that my infamous sexual market value graph. And every once in a while, I'll get a little tidbit that backs that up, and I'm trying to collect those so people go, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Where are show me the sources. Yeah, here they are.
Talk to your friend circle. That's the part that blows my mind. For a lot of guys, they give me this whole I don't believe this thing, and then you just bring up a personal story from hey, remember 2 years ago this chick? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then you realize, like, they don't actually they hear the words, but they don't map it to life. And that's once you get that connection, that's when people start to click. But a lot of guys just either don't want to or aren't capable of doing that, which is kind of sad because that's how they get PJ'd, I guess. Is that a verb now? When you get PJ'd?
No, but you just made it one.
Nice. PJ'd by the Sun Hat Brigade.
PJ'd by the Sun Hat Brigade. Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at like Scarlett Johansson right now, and she's like, I think she's mid-30s, and she is, she's still a good-looking girl. I mean, she just did Black Widow and all that kind. I mean, it's sort of this last gasp.
She has an army of people there to make her look beautiful. She fucking better at that price.
Yeah, and that too. But even at 35 years old, I mean, you could still be in pretty good shape in your mid-30s, ladies. I'm not saying you can't. But, you are not going to be as hot. You're not going to be as in shape and as, let's just say, sexually marketable as when you were 25. So,
23-year-old Scarlett Johansson will crush in the movies compared to 35-year-old Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, she does look great. Yeah, she she does look great. I will give her that. Here's another one that's just in the news recently. Did you see the video of what was it? Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly?
Some young dude.
Yeah, he's 31, by the way. I thought he looks a lot younger than 31.
Dude, what happened to her face?
Yeah.
I get it. Like, people get older, but that's like, remember the Bill Burr sketch about too much plastic surgery? Like, you're some nebulous age between 34 and 35, like a lizard. That's all I could see with her now.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's going to be one of those 50-year-olds that looks like, with the giant jaw and like the cheeks
already had
are
too
huge.
much work. Yeah, she's 35 and had a lot of work. I'll give her that. And again, Megan Fox, I remember seeing her in the first Transformers movie, and I was like, God damn, wow. But now it's like, after a while, you hit 35, you get past that point. I'm not saying she's hit the wall or anything like that, but
she's well past the wall.
Yeah, she is technically she's well past the wall, because let's just look at it this way: she's got 3 kids. And she's 35 years old. She's with this guy who's like 4 years younger than she is. Nobody says jack shit about that, by the way. Like, is that age appropriate dating? Doesn't matter.
I've yet to see a girl complain about age appropriate dating who's under the age of like 29. You notice that?
Yep.
I don't think they really give a shit. I just think if I say these words, the guys my age will stop dating these young harlots.
Because they have to.
Do they call them harlots anymore?
Chippies.
Or is that like an
these young chippies? I think that's an Eric Clary term. Oh no, so like I think you're right. You don't hear women talking about like I can't find the right guy, I can't find a nice guy when they're 23. You'll hear them say exactly that when they're 33, or you'll hear them talk about age appropriate dating when they're in their late 30s. Well, I can't find the right guy because all these men are they're infantile and they're egos and they just want young girls and whatever. I guess that's
all of them, every single one. Not a single guy had potential apparently.
Or I can remember. Do you remember when Keanu Reeves showed up with his new girlfriend who was? She looks like his mom. I mean, she seriously looks like she's pushing.
Yeah, her hair was grayer than yours.
50s, early 60s. She's younger than he is, but only by I think she's 46 and he's like my age. Like he's like 52, 53, something.
Yeah,
like
that was right around the time that the Top Gun photo came out with like Tom Cruise and what's her face.
Mm-hmm.
He looks great at 56, and she looks like the grandmother at the library.
Oh man, okay, so this is sort of heavy metal nerd time right now. There's a great cover for the second album by Rat. It's called what was it called? Invasion of Your Privacy. And the reason why that was a great cover back then is because I don't know if this was the first one to feature a Playboy Playmate, but this was a Playboy Playmate that I think Stephen Pearcy, the guy who was the lead singer for Rat, was dating at the time, or was seeing her. He really liked her anyways. And she was Playmate of the Year for like 1984, 1985, or whenever that album came out. Complete smoke show. Do not go look her up now. Don't do it. Just don't. Just go with the vision from 1984, 1985. And again, it's like that's the one of the things I think about the internet right now is and I've done shows about this as well, is like women can't get away from that digital footprint. It's always going to be there. Even if you were born, like she's clearly Gen X. I mean, she's probably in her 50s right now. Not the same girl that she was when she was, 22, 23, when she was a centerfold. But even
I'm going to guess she didn't choose to age gracefully.
She's thick. Let's just say that's as nice as I can put it. Right. Hey, people get old, people get fat, whatever. That's what happened to her. But I think there's this sort of mental imagery that we have, particularly from different, eras decades, certainly, that we romanticize. And we want to say, oh, yeah, your heroes still look as young as they did back in 1986 when they were playing, the Moscow Music Peace Festival or something like that. No, they don't. They don't look like that anymore. But I made a joke about this a long time ago on Royce's blog, and I said, you know what? Say what you want to about Facebook, but it has been the great equalizer. It started at social media in general. Maybe not Mark Zuckerberg personally, but social media in general has been a great equalizer, I think, in the sexual marketplace, because now, like I said, you can look at Brittany Renner just from 3 years ago, talking about I'm going to date an athlete. They're dumb as hell. And then you can go and you fast forward it to 2021, because the second one I played was just recent. And then you look at the difference. Look at what's happened, in her life, and she's still the same nutcase that she is, but now she has gone from being, so I guess in her mid 20s, to being 29, where she's at right now, with a baby, single mother by design, let's just say. And so we can see this kind of stuff and how it progresses. Now people say, well, maybe she's just an apex example of that, but I don't think so. I think you can do that with a lot of girls who are now a lot more open about this kind of stuff. And it goes back to what you and I've talked about, and I put this in a couple of my books, is the concept of open hypergamy. And
definitely open.
This will definitely go to your video here. But women are far more open about their sexual strategy now, because they have to be. They're caught. They can't. It's unignorable. Not from the red pill, not from the manosphere, whatever you want to call it these days. It is unignorable because women themselves make it unignorable.
Might as well lean into it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the consequences? That's the one thing I love about my video. She's doxing this dude, making him look like a complete simp. Granted, he gave her all the ammunition she needed. Mm-hmm. She's nakedly saying, I'm doing this because I just got a job at a radio station. and everybody's like trying to appeal to her humanity. Hey, don't dox this guy. He's a nice guy. And she's like, screw you guys. I'm like, there is nothing you can say or do that's going to make her stop using this guy, stepping on him when he's down, using him for clout. That's just the way it is. It's like you said, you have, what's your thing on birth control? It's that like sex, using a condom. That's your one decision gate on whether you want a baby or not. So yeah, this is basically condoms, but for your social media profile. If you don't want to be put on blast, follow Royce's Jumbotron rule. If you don't want to have your voicemail messages and your tweets put up on a Jumbotron for everybody to see without cringing, then probably best if you didn't say it. And yeah, when you see the example, you'll see exactly why.
Yeah.
And yeah, we could sit here and argue about why she's bad and the reason she's bad, but just that's the takeaway. If you're red-pilled, hey, don't do this stuff. And I know you like Fresh and you like Fit and those guys and they do those things, but dude, in the era of Me Too, sending out a DM saying, hey, you're going to sleep with me to get on my podcast, I'll pay you an exposure. I'm like, dude,
that's gold. That's gold to a woman who knows that kind of stuff.
I know.
Those guys.
I've read the Rational Mail. I'm pretty sure you said in there specifically, don't do that. I think it's chapter 4.
Well, and that's actually a really good point, Ryan. In the same way that women have a digital footprint, guys have a digital footprint too. So assume that anything you put on an instant message or social media, a DM, whatever. Like the first thing I remember when I first started working with Pat Campbell, Pat was like he really was. He taught me a lot. He was kind of a mentor to me in the very early, like back in 2017, 2018. And he would say, don't go put anything up about, politics or religion or any of that kind of stuff, or be careful who you associate with. I mean, one of the reasons why I didn't want to associate with like Stefan Molyneux or Mike Cernovich or the rest of these guys is because I didn't want people to go like back in time and go, see, you did this way back when, right? Now I'm going to bring up a really quick example of this because right after, I think it was 2017 or 2018, and our good friend, our old friend, Ivan Throne had put something on his like social media about this. I think it was like a Chinese artist or something like that.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. And so he put this Chinese artist thing on there and he's like, I don't know what he was saying about it. And people hate Ivan. I haven't heard anything from Ivan in a long, long time.
Well, he hasn't heard anything from us either, but I think that's by design.
But like this is back
actually that's bad. It's a deaf joke. I shouldn't do that.
This was back when things were a little bit different between myself and Ivan, right? And I was trolling him. I was joking around with him because I'm like, yeah, okay, what guy could possibly do this kind of art, because he knew what my opinion was when it comes to art, because I've said this as well, is that like I think that when it comes to artistic and creative endeavors, I think men and women are both very creative and can both be very good. Like we have to be. That's part of like our wiring, is to improvise, be artistic, create things, build new inventions, that kind of stuff, make our lives easier. He knows that I was trolling him, I was giving him grief about it, but every social justice warrior in the effing world throws, see, she's a Chinese artist and she's a woman, ha ha ha. Right? They screen capture this and they throw it at me like every, 6 months, 5 months, whatever it is. But that troll has been used by these guys for, I don't know, like 5 years, 4 years now, at least 3.5 years right now.
How many Anthony Johnson hit pieces are there? There's usually one a year. You can set your clock to it. Right. And it's usually a self-own, and they don't even realize that they're owning themselves, but they still stupidly think that, I got you. That's what I'm talking about. That's a digital footprint. And I was trying to joke around with the guy, and that's the way they took it. And it's still coming back. To be fair, you got off easy, man. Remember Cernovich's one with his working out in the pirate shirt, or his story about sleeping with the transvestite in Thailand, or Jack Murphy?
Oh God. Yeah. Jack Murphy. Forget it. Yeah. That's that blog post will haunt him for the rest of his life. He will never escape that. And then like Cernovich's Wim Hof breathing. Those videos
it's not even just the Sphere. It's like mainstream stuff too. Remember Kurt Eichenwald, that reporter? Same thing with his digital footprint. He tried showing some screenshots of some anti-Trump stuff, but then nerds looked at his like taskbar and they're like, hey, is that hentai on there? Like tentacle porn? He goes, and he was like all panicky. So he's like, I was just showing it to my kids to see what to avoid. And they're like, so now they got him on showing it to his kids. And or Eugene Moo, the anti-Trump guy who got caught being catfished by the fat chick, and then he fell asleep because he didn't want to kick her out of his house, so he just pretended to sleep so she wouldn't try to sleep with him. And it's every guy is just ratting themselves out now. And I can't blame girls for doing this. It works. That's the one thing I find is different between the guy's cell phone and the girl's cell phone. She'll talk about single mom, get after his money, whatever. She'll get a book deal. The guy will do it, and he just gets run over.
Right.
So you guys got to get good, man. Get with the game.
I became aware of Brittany Renner like before all this stuff happened because of the first video. Because I was doing those videos and I think it was a post or a series of posts I was doing about like why women's like sexual past makes a difference to guys. Like why? Because men are interested in paternity, yada yada. I mean, I've got a whole video on that, but I became kind of interested in like what she was talking about, because this is like the sort of the rationale that women have. Because I think it's on some level of consciousness, women have to, in some way, change the society or change social conventions, so guys will be more forgiving about those digital footprints, like that history. So women will say, well, you shouldn't be so concerned about, who I've slept with in the past, right? Or it shouldn't matter that I had an OnlyFans, right?
It shouldn't, but here we are.
Yeah, matter. Like, what are you insecure? And a real man wouldn't care about that stuff, right?
I suppose he would.
So there's, yes, he would. Now, so most guys will go, well, I'm secure enough in my masculinity that I don't care if the little lady had a OnlyFans. She's with me. I know who she's with. That kind of stuff. And it's like, well, there's two things. There's two parts of that. The first part is, okay, first of all, why would guys get jealous, or why would guys have a problem with that in the first place? Evolutionarily speaking, it's because men are interested in their own paternity, and women who are easy and who are always getting attention from men and who are, look like they might be sexual with someone else. That's a bad bet for your paternity. Okay. That's a nuts and bolts analysis of that. The second part is why is it that we want to change men's mind about that? Whose interest does it serve, and why is it suddenly so imperative right now that men change their mind about that?
If I didn't know any better, I'd say you're referring to mental point of origin.
Right. Well, that too, but it also might be because of social media. It's inescapable now. So if I can't escape my digital past, if I can't escape my sexual history of doing, I don't know, threesomes in college or whatever on OnlyFans, then what I have to do is and men are going to have a problem with that. The guys that I want to get with, the high value guys that I want to get with, they're going to have a problem with that. So what I have to do is pre-condition those guys to not have a problem with that.
And shame them into doing it and promise them sex if they don't do it.
Right. In
fact, the part that gets me on that too?
Renner said was like, why should it make any difference? It's 2018.
Yeah. And what gets me on that is I get it, the paternity thing, right? But we have DNA tests now, unless you're in France. You can already, science has kind of solved this issue, so we don't have to be concerned anymore. Now, I don't care. If that kind of stuff bothers you, it bothers you. It's allowed to bother you. If it doesn't, it's allowed not to bother you. But I don't like the idea of the girl throwing it in your face as if she gets to decide whether it bothers you or not. It's not her role. And this is like the mental point of origin. What can we do from it? It's like, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So if you don't care if a girl was running threesomes in college because you were running fivesomes in college, you're like, we all got our past and she's acting right now. Great. If you're like, no, I'm settling for a virgin. Sorry, good luck. Wish you well. You don't get mad about it, but it's just like, it's not your thing. It's fine too. I just don't like the idea of the women in these examples making that decision that makes you a man or not. It's like, no offense, but you're a single mom. I don't think you get to decide what makes me a man or not.
I'll tell you what makes me a man at this point.
Hell, half the guys out there can't even decide for themselves what does it.
Yes. Well, I really need to do a full episode on this, because my most trafficked post on the Rational Male was saving the best, right? It was called Saving the Best for Last or whatever. And I wrote that post, way back, I think in 2015 or 2014. And it was in response to a Reddit post that somebody had thrown up there. And it was about this. It was a story. I think it might have been like am I the asshole kind of thing. And this guy had married this girl who was like very kind of sexually unavailable to him. And she just had starfish sex with him. She was just very like unenthusiastic about it. And she was just like, clearly the guy was, the beta bucks guy. He was.
And he came to terms with it. I get that part too.
Oh, he ended up, I believe he ended up leaving her, but I'm not sure.
Well, no, I mean, before he found out.
Oh, yeah. And so what happened is the guy found, and this is like, remember, this is older. So he found videotapes, or he found video footage of this girl or his wife who was, previously unsexual with him, of her doing, threesomes or whatever in college with her boyfriends and stuff, and just doing all of these sexual acrobatic kind of things that she told her husband that she was uncomfortable doing. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, every woman in the thread comes to her defense going, well, she's not like that anymore.
Which is exactly the problem.
Yeah, I know. She's learned, and she's looking for a guy who's going to be there for the long haul. And just like, and yeah, you are the asshole because you have a problem with that. And his problem wasn't so much the fact that she had a sexual past. It's that he was not getting her sexual best. And most male guys think that if they get with that girl, and there's like, let's say they get to be about 30, average age of marriage, 29, 30 years old. They get married to that girl and they go, well, now the only reason any woman would ever marry me is because I'm the best she could do. And she's going to be my, my sun and my moon. And she's going to give me her sexual best. Mm-hmm. But yet she begrudgingly gives a blowjob, if at all, and just simply won't do these things because she says she's just like, she's self-conscious, so she doesn't like doing those things, or she's just not a sexual person. And yet we have video footage of her being a very sexual person with like two guys at the same time. And so when guys see that and it's thrown in their face, it's like they have a sort of, crisis of identity, but they're just like, why am I not getting that kind of sex? Why am I not getting your sexual best? If I'm going to be the guy that's going to live the forever after, right, forsaking all others, till death do us part, sickness and health, whatever. If I'm going to be that guy, why am I struggling? Why am I jumping through hoops?
Why am I paying sticker price for a used car?
Right, exactly. And here these guys are. Clearly you're more sexual than you purport to be. And I think his words were this is like, great, I married a
hooker who fucks like a prude.
Yeah. That
I quoted a lot, so I'm pretty good with it.
That was the sticker, man. That was the hard knife to the heart right there. I married a slut who fucks like a prude. No, she only fucks like a prude with you. Mm-hmm. Because you are the guy that was your daddy material. You were the comfortable guy. And so that I've always used that. I've always come back to that as sort of a reference point for the digital footprint argument. Like women can't get away from that. Even if it's just like on a VHS tape or something like that, they still can't get away from that. Girl on the cover of the Rat album, she can't get away from that. She looked hot as hell back then, and now she doesn't. And it's like, never meet your heroes kind of thing. It's not, whatever, you did porn in your past, or you had OnlyFans in your past or whatever. Guys are going to have to accept that on some level, I think, because so many women are doing it right now. Now, here's the thing. Is it guys' fault that women are doing that?
Does it matter?
Is it guys' responsibility to like make women better women?
Because could we even if we wanted to?
Yeah, I will always argue this from the point that men don't have the authority to do that. And the minute they try to claim that authority is when they'll be called a misogynist and thrown away and, criminalize the whole thing for even trying to claim authority. So that puts a stop to the whole thing right there. But the idea or the concept is that like guys, the women today are crappy because men allow them to be.
Yeah, that's just it. I don't get that because like we can't. There's no mechanism for any kind of authority, like you say. Let's say you want a woman to act right. How do you go from here? It's like the repeal of the 19th. Okay, that's great. Women having the vote causes problems. Explain to me how you get from here to there. Nobody ever has an answer. All right, women are crappy now. How do you get them from here to acting right, however you define it, when everybody defines it differently anyway? Mm-hmm. The only thing people can agree on is acting right is doing what I want. Go figure.
Right.
So it's like, how do you get from here to there? Nobody has an answer for that either. So I'm like, well, why? So you're just basically complaining and whining like a child. And that's why I hate when people talk about whose fault is it. I'm like, who cares? Do you know who cares about fault? Children. Stop hitting your sister. Well, she hit me first. It's her fault. It's like, we're not 6 anymore. And I know it's like because you've talked about it, bros before homes to late adolescence. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the problems. This is one of the few things that guys really do need to address on their own is this idea of fault and blame. You just got to let that shit go, man. Because it's just going to eat you up inside. And the whole reason we have a red meat topic right now and a thumbnail and my thumbnail and all this stuff is here is because guys haven't grown up and just accepted girls are going to do girl things. So what are you going to do about it? And until you get there, we're going to put more wham and ain't shit videos out there. Mm-hmm. Don't blame me. Don't blame the messenger.
People love it, man. Hey, let's look at this real quick here. This is good.
Uh-oh.
Like, I used to talk to my marriage friends, and that's what I'm like, is that really?
You judge them when it's not you. You're like,
I'm
not
like,
going to be me.
Right. You're like, really?
Yeah, it will be.
Like, you know, like you don't like to give blowjobs anymore. And
Oh, God.
Right?
The thought of blowing someone you're married to is so repulsive. It's so, it's like, it's too much. It's inappropriate.
no, something happens because a lot of us, like, I used to love doing it. And a lot of my female friends, like when we were
Of course,
single and dating.
the first 3 weeks.
And then all of a sudden, it just doesn't become appealing.
Oh, because all of a sudden you realize what you're doing. Like, and you're like, oh my God.
What's the point?
Well, it just seems so dirty and so inappropriate and so uncalled for when you're married. You're like, you want me to do what? With that? Never. I mean, I'm always like, find someone. Don't you have a friend or a masseuse that could take care of this? Like
Like
Well,
that.
how many years you been married for again? 25?
25.
If I ask,
Yeah, I actually got, well, let's see. I got Homer on Wednesday.
congrats. Here's my question to you. Out of all the relationship, Iron Tomassi rules of doing a marriage thing, talking shit about your spouse on TV, where does that rank on the do or not do scale?
That is the not do scale. Like,
Yeah, the not do scale.
Yeah.
That's what gets me on this one. I don't think girls know how to run relationships anymore. At least a lot.
No.
Mine does. Yours does. I don't think these ones do.
I put and this is entertainment, right? Remember, this is a
of course it is.
podcast. I forget what societalized. I can't remember something.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like it makes
Spinsters talking like The View. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you give this anywhere you look, but I pulled that out there because I'm not. This is not outrage bait. I'm sorry. I really actually have a purpose for this. But I think what's funny is like that is an example of open hypergamy, even though they don't realize that they're doing it. But it's funny, and all the girls, oh yay, oh that's so funny. I would never think of that, you know, or even or you can have the reverse side of that too, because there'll be women who are like, I love my husband and I always want to give him a Hummer and blah blah blah, right? Whether it's one side or the other makes no difference.
Oh,
The
it's still a
indignation
flex.
comes from either side, right? From like, oh, I pity these poor girls. They're not married to the right guy, or else there'll be the girls who are like, wow, it seems dirty to me. It seems, I think one of the things I've said before in the past is like the reason why women start to become less sexual after marriage is because they become too familiar with the guy. Like the guy goes from being sort of stranger
Exciting.
and dangerous kind of guy, exciting, to being like familiar and family. And I made this point in when did I talk about this last? I made a point one time that when a guy goes from being sort of like lover to being like dad or being like father or husband kind of thing, then he kind of crosses over into the realm of being
Eunuch.
yeah, well, eunuchs, but being familiar. And so one of the things that I think I picked this up from Dr. Stephen Stewart Williams. Hope I'm saying that right. Yeah. And he was talking about how like there's a revulsion response for incest in most human beings. No matter what, you can characterize incest in any way, and people will go, because we
Tell
have
that to Pornhub because they're crushing it right now with it.
No, exactly. Well, that's because it's that we're normalizing getting past that revulsion response, unfortunately. But that's why it's taboo, because it's like this sort of revulsion response. And what happens is when a guy goes from being sort of like, dangerous, mysterious lover to being familiar daddy husband, he's now in the family side of things. And it's like women don't want to have sex with a family member. Right? They don't want to have sex with somebody who is like part of their sort of, I guess, genetic lineage or whatever it is. Even if that's not the case, the social connection is now about family rather than about like, hey, I want to really get with this guy. And that's where that comes from. And I don't know. I think that guys can get around that by being
Guys answering their cell phone at the drop of a hat is a bad thing. Like, you're allowed not to answer your wife every time she texts you right away. You're allowed to finish what you're doing first. It's little things like that, and it's the part that gets me. It's because it's not like you said yourself. I am the game. You've kind of internalized this stuff. It's like it's instinctual, and you're not Superman. You're just Rollo Tomassi. You're a normal guy, and you can do it. So that means everybody can do it. Little things. Be somewhere where you can be charming. Be somewhere where you can be attractive. Stay in shape. Don't look ugly. Give your wife a chance to miss you. Don't answer your phone immediately all the time. Have things to do. All that stuff that you're telling single guys to do. Married guys can keep doing it, and that's all you have to do.
I think there is a I think it is more imperative for guys who are married or who are in long-term relationships, however you want to define it. If you've committed to a long-term relationship with a woman, the opportunities for social proof and pre-selection for the average guy is almost non-existent right now, right? If you're a good guy and you're a coder or you're an electrician or you're blue collar worker kind of thing, your opportunities, unless you do something really outstanding, right? Unless you have like some secret talent or you're a great athlete in some way or whatever, people like look up to you in some way. Most guys do not have, well, let's put it this way. They have a far less, opportunity to have any kind of social proof or pre-selection once they're in that committed relationship than when they are outside of that relationship. So if they're single and they're trying to impress, even if they're not trying to impress, women are still looking for that pre-selection. They don't see that in that guy anymore once they have sort of put the ring on the finger kind of thing.
Because of all those responsible things a guy does, every single one of them comes with that little cost. 80-hour work week, yeah, the family gets a nice house, you live in the suburbs, but now you're not in the city anymore, and you have no free time. That's the weird thing. It's all these guys are literally making these sabotaging choices. It's like maybe don't put the wife up in a 3,000 square foot house. Maybe live in a little smaller place that's more affordable. Then you don't have to work 80 hours a week. Then you have spare time. Then you can work as a band at the bar on the weekends just for fun because you like hanging out with your buddies. Hey, you're now still attractive. Who'd have thunk? Just by making smart, deliberate choices.
Right.
Heck, you did it. Your liquor thing.
Well, there are lots of ways that guys can at least stoke or at least increase the possibility of there being like social proof. Like women, as much as they hate to say this, like they want a guy who other men want to be and other women want to bang, right? I mean, that's the base. They don't want a guy.
Would you want something that nobody else wanted? Would you want a guitar that everybody called a piece of shit? Probably not.
Ivan has up there just because I knew you were coming on.
Son of a bitch.
But no, it's like, having that third party confirmation. I've talked about dread about a bazillion times. And then most guys think of dread as overt dread, and women will say the same thing. That's manipulative. You shouldn't live under your thumb, or it's like she's living like a slave or something. I was like, that's not what dread is, or like shouldn't be anyways.
I would say it's clear to being checked out than it is to overly manipulating somebody. It's
third party confirmation of your value is what it is. If her girlfriends are saying, man, it's, Rollo looks pretty good. He's so fuckable. I would love to get with that guy. Right. You're so lucky to have her. Like, I can't say that, because if I do and I go, hey, you should really think I'm fuckable. You should really like me, because I'm a catch. Right. If I say that's
do you know who I am?
Do you know? If I say that, then I sound like I'm fluffing myself up, first of all. And then second of all, it sounds like I'm saying that because I have some sort of insecurity, or like I'm trying to like give her an ultimatum.
And to be fair, you would. The dude on that voicemail from that video did just that. He's talking about how nice of a person he is.
Oh, we're going to
listen to that video and tell me if you think he sounds like a nice person.
Oh, yeah.
Or if he sounds like a spousal abuse case just waiting to happen.
Yeah. This is actually pertinent to the conversation. Sons of Rollo. Oh, these are my cult members.
Look at you go. You finally do have that cult everybody's accusing you of.
Secret handshake. Do you recommend that? Do you recommend then that the vetting process is much more thorough? Should we pick the best plate and then train her if we want to form a family? Thank you.
You going first on this one?
I'll let you go. You're the guest.
Vetting is ridiculous. It's the stupidest idea, and whoever came up with it is an asshole. Vetting is bad for so many reasons. I'll even name off a few. Vetting is bad because you're treating a snapshot like it's a longitudinal thing. You can vet somebody, and you see what they're like at that moment. And you've already got your chart. A girl at 23 is different than a girl at 28, different at 32, before she has a kid, after she has a kid. If you're lucky, all those girls like you. But there's no guarantee. So vetting there, you'll never know. On top of that, what are you vetting for? Most guys don't have a mental point of origin. They don't have strong internal values. So they end up vetting for things that their peer group tells them, which usually means their church, or their women, which same thing, or their parents. You got some beta bucks dad and mom telling you what you need to go for in a woman. So those are the values you're searching for. So you're basically looking for something that's setting you up for failure anyway. On top of that, you go in there and your ego invested. So if you see a girl that likes you, sleeps with you, and she's good looking, you're going to ignore so many red flags because you're thinking, yeah, she passes the vetting. Good enough. Close enough. You're marking her like a Trump audit. yeah, no, that's fair. That worked. So right there, like the entire process of vetting, and that's just 3 examples. I have like it on my blog, or it's like 7. 3 examples there of why it's not going to work for you. And I think the alternative is just boundaries. That's why I don't really give a shit about the sexual past or any of that shit. It's just, is she acting right now? Right in the moment, David Dutton, Wisdom of Psychopaths. Is she acting good? Is she giving me a reason to suspect that she's up to something? Like, you know, your girls' night out post where she talks about, or the girl's like, yeah, I'm going out with my friends. And you're like, well, the only response is have fun. Because she flat out told you she doesn't care if you think she could be maybe cheating on you. And that just shows she's not invested. That's a boundary for you. You can enforce that. You can vet all your life. But if she's bored, she goes on a girl's night out. Enforce the boundary. If she disrespects you by saying, yeah, I'd never blow my man on national TV, that's a boundary.
Yep.
And the beauty about boundaries is that it's constant. It's a process. You're always checking for your boundaries. And when she crosses your boundaries, you know what to do. Pull your affection, pull your attention, pull your commitment. And that's the whole purpose of like dating. If you're dating a girl for a year and she hasn't given you any reason to kick her to the curb, well, your boundary enforcement just did a superior job to all the vetting you could have possibly done. So just stick with that.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys think that they're vetting because they have to, right? They have to think that they did something along the way, that they didn't just like fall into it.
Yeah.
And even the guys who like knock up a girl and they go, oh, I got to do the right thing. I got her pregnant. I better go and get her married.
Yeah, there's your vetting.
That's your vetting.
You let one past the goalie. That's my only concern.
Yes, exactly. Guys, let me guys don't vet. Period. End of story. But guys simply don't vet. Myself included. I vetted myself pretty much. Like, can I be faithful to this chick? Yeah, she's pretty fun in bed. She looks good. She takes care of herself. I think I can be faithful to her. That was the extent of my vetting with my wife. Good thing that we both like have polarity. Good thing that I'm me and she's her, and things worked out really well, right? Yeah. Do you build a relationship? To answer the second part of that question, absolutely you do. But it's not like you're the, like the lion tamer. Get up on there, the lion tamer in the circus or something like that. It's a process, and it takes a while. And a lot of guys honestly don't have the patience to sort of like mold and develop a relationship that they want to have, because they wouldn't presume to in the first place, because they don't have standards. Because if you had standards, they would be vetting, and they're not vetting. That's simply how it works out. Yeah. And it's not because most guys, when they're vetting for a long-term relationship, just as you said, they're, what's the average age of marriage for men is about 29 years old. Do you think those guys are vetting at that point? Probably not. They're probably going, God damn it, I can't believe my ship has finally come in. She's finally realized I'm the perfect guy for her. Like, remember, 80% of guys are beta. 80% of guys are the guys that women don't find attractive. Okay. That's the 80-20 rule. People hate it when I throw out the Pareto principle, but here we go again. That's the 80-20 rule. It's not about 20% of guys banging 80% of girls. That's not how it is. It's 80% of guys are unattractive. I don't know how more simplistic I can make that. Okay. 100% of women want to get with the top 20% of guys, not just 80% of women. No, that's not where the 80-20 thing comes in. And people confuse that all the goddamn time. So you have to remember that. And then those guys, when they get to be 29 years old, do you think they go, well, she checks off this list here, and she loves her mom? No, no.
I got my first blowjob this year. She's in. Yeah. That's what they say. Well,
and then it's that is always like, sex is always going to be balancing into that relationship. It's and even Brittany Renner, who's openly hypergamous, is going to say, yeah, hey, they're stupid. Yeah, they are. Even the guys who should know better. I wanted to also to tag that on there as well. Is like, a lot of guys will say you need to focus on your what is it, chase excellence. Sorry, Rich, but say chase excellence. I don't want to
define excellence
use it differently, but it's like, focus on yourself and get the bag and look for the paper and focus on you, right? That, because you don't chase women. And okay, fine, but when you get to, like we were saying before on Rule Zero yesterday, when you get to the point where you are you're a quote unquote high value man in whatever your particular realm happens to be. Once you get there, you happen to be a really good mark for people like this chick right here, for Brittany Renner. Don't you think that PJ Washington did exactly what you're talking about?
Oh, he chased excellence.
He did. He chased excellence, and he's excellent. And you know what? Makes a shit ton of money. as a professional athlete, he's got
alpha in all the ways that matter.
Everything you told him to do. But you know what? Tunnel vision. How do we know? Because he hooked up with Brittany Renner. That's why. That's how we know. So when you get to that point, I agree. I realize this is the apex example, but still, it's a pretty good illustration of what I'm saying. Is like you can't just single-mindedly go, okay, I'm just going to go and build my business, and it's all about me, and I'm just going to get to the gym, and I'm going to be whatever. It's like you still have to understand game, and you still have to understand women, or you'll get rolled by a Brittany Renner.
And not just that, psychologically, a lot of guys have that issue. When you have money, it's like, oh, does she like me for me or does she like my money? Mm-hmm. And they don't know because they have no frame of reference. That's why I think we talked about it before, like a year ago. You need to be that guy who slept with a girl with a mattress on your floor. Because that way she didn't like you for your money. She didn't like you for your home. She didn't like you for anything. There was nothing there but you and a mattress and a flat sheet.
Right. If
you don't know what that sex feels like, then when you meet a girl while you're rich, you're never going to know if you're getting the girl that likes you or the girl that likes your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. That's another reason why I think chasing excellence needs to have a little bit of skirt chasing with it. Mm-hmm. Just so you know, what is it like without money? Let's see if we can get that vibe back, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to just... You have to be red pill aware. You have to be game savvy, and that takes experience. And sometimes that means I think what guys really kind of where they drop the narrative here is they think that guys are just like you're pussy hounds. I heard that so much from like MRAs back in the day, like back in like 2015, 2016, like Paul Elam. All these pickup artists are just pussy hounds. They're not following their mission, and it's like. Because he thinks that, that it's easy to get.
It takes 23 and a half hours a day to chase girls. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You just show, it's easy to get women. Why would you just show up at the local bar and they'll just come and fall on your dick? And it's like, no, dude, you need to have an education, a well-rounded education, and, make money, make muscles, learn game, right? If you have the trifecta there to some degree anyways.
I just hate those guys who think it's a time thing. Like, case in point, my heaviest sailing schedule where I first learned pickup, we sailed 189 days out of the year. That means I'm out 24/7, 365. I didn't have a weekend. I didn't have a day off. My afternoon usually was spent doing fire exercises. So I was only home for half the year, and that half of the year I'm still working the same 9 to 5 with duty watches on the weekend, which is another 24 hours gone. So that's like, after all of that, I still managed to carve out some time to learn game. Mm-hmm. So how much time do these guys think when you're doing this work from home coding job? How much time do you think you're losing to your mission to go chase a couple skirts? It's not enough. It's not enough to impact your billionaire application you're building. Yeah. It's like, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I get called out for this occasionally because I have done several shows on this, and I've got a chapter of this, and I think it's in book 2 or 3.
You're at that point now where you forget which books you're still
I don't know because I think of them as essays. I don't think of them as chapters in the books now. But you've heard me talk about the difference between validational sex and transactional sex. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys who are only accustomed, their only frame of reference when it comes to sexuality with women is transactional sex. And they have no clue what I'm talking about when I talk about validational sex. Now, of course, what they say, and when I explain that to them, they go, well, yeah, maybe the first few times, but then it becomes transactional sex. I say, yeah, but that validational sex is something you will never know, and you have no idea that woman is as sexual as she would be. Like that girl who was talking about, I would never give a blowjob to my husband, blah, blah, blah. What? Well, okay, let's stop. Hold. Why? Why is that? Because
it just feels wrong.
It just feels wrong, right? Yeah, well, because prior to you getting married, that was a loss leader, according to Tom Likas. Wait, here we go.
Dump that bitch.
There we go. That's a loss leader. That's the free samples to get you to buy the marriage, to come into the marriage. Yeah, I'll give you some blowjobs. Sure, no problem. I married a whore who fucks like a prude, right? And so that part, when it comes to what you think is she a good performer, or is she just is she really into it? Now, in my sexual past, I would very much like to think that the women that I was getting with and in the Hollywood, metal scene during the time, I'm pretty well versed in validational sex. I know when I didn't have jack shit, right? I lived in a single bedroom studio, in North Hollywood. I had a pickup truck, and my liquid assets were whatever the musical equipment I had that I could, cram into that studio. That's all I had. And I had women who would want to come over, who would literally come over in the morning because they knew like they would do it before they would come get with me before they would go to work, because that was their only window of opportunity to come and knock one out with me. And I'd be like, geez. So there's a point, like I think a lot of guys think that, well, only Chads or only these 20% of guys are ever going to have that validational sex. Like women will seek them out to have sex. Or when I was doing the booty call episode last week, it was like people were like, they didn't want to believe that a booty call is similar to, like, say, the friend zone. And I came to that conclusion because I've had booty calls in the past, right? I've had at least three booty calls in my sexual past where it was just about the sex. People think you're lying. They think you're flexing on them. Oh, you didn't have a booty call. They don't know because they've never been in that position, because their frame of reference is always, well, I got to buy the box, which is another big thing in the.
Do you know what I love about that too? That's how you can find out who's actually just talking shit on Twitter and who knows. Because you see the guys on there who actually do have it. So when you give your story, like your story about the booty calls, they're not 10 out of 10 the most amazing booty call ever. It's just very, average of the road. And so guys, you kind of like just give a chuckle and move on. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, they know. Mm-hmm. It's the other guys who treat it like it's some impossible fantasy. Like, dude, my 15 stories I had in my book, those are not like they're not the Lamborghini of pussy at all. They're normal sex stories from an average guy. And when I see people saying that shit didn't happen, I just laugh. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, I'm not showing this to flex. I'm showing this because this is what the average guy is capable of. There's much better out there. Tate's got cam girls sucking his dick in a Lamborghini. Like, how much do you want?
I know. And at what point, like, and how do you, like, most guys can't, they don't have a frame of reference to really put a value system on that, like to estimate, like, okay, this is just sort of like vanilla sex versus, wow, man, this is like crazy porn star sex, right? You don't have a frame of, because the sexual, I mean, especially when I was doing the video on statistics of virginity since from 2008 to 2018, when I was doing that episode, people were just losing their minds because it's confirmation of everything like MGTOW and Black Pill and everything else says. But then when I go, yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way. Oh, no, it does. Yeah, it really does. I'm doomed. Forget it.
Well, yeah, well, you're telling them basically, hey, for the last 20, 30 years, you've been wasting your time. I don't think they can admit that. I think they know you're right. I just think there's a part of them, their ego, that won't let them admit it's right.
Well, I'll get to you in a second here, Mosher. I think that a lot of guys, they instantly default to what you just said. Like, they think that it's a flex. Like, if I say, like I just said, just like 10 minutes ago, like my wife gave me a blowjob on Wednesday. I'll tell you another. Here's your big flex, guys. Here's another really good flex for you. Okay, I have been in bands while I've been married. I have been in the gaming and wine and spirits and liquor industries for a long time. I'm dealing with very beautiful women, very beautiful men too, right? Because I got to pick them and bring them and have them show up at the promos, because we got to get the women got to come to the booth.
Look at you going all David Bowie on me.
Yeah, exactly, right? I'm picking those guys and those girls to be the ones who are going to be at the Martini Fest or whatever it is. I'm the dude. Okay, I am the one who knocks. So I'm there, and I made a living doing that. I'm a creative guy. Is that all I do? No, but that's an aspect of my job. Okay, so I'm doing that. I've been in gaming and liquor for 25 years, almost about half my career. Okay. Then just recently, I started flying to Miami 4 times in a year to get on Fresh and Fit with chicks who are 19 to 35 years old, somewhere around there. They're all ratchet. They're all, for the most part, they're all single. They're all there. They're all worked up. They're all up on White Claws, which is Zima for Zillennials.
Oh, jeez.
But so I'm doing that, and you bet your sweet ass that my wife gives me a blowjob before I go out to Miami, or I go to a gig, or I go to do whatever that is that I'm doing. And it's not because I'm like a jerk. It's not because I'm telling her, you better.
Dude, I would think something's wrong if you didn't.
Baby, that's not me, man. It's just, that's our relationship. She knows. That's the polarity. That's the value that I have. And even if it's whether or not it's like valid or not, I'm not going to bang any girls on it. Why? Right? But
she cares enough about you to make sure you don't forget you're loyal.
Perception is everything.
Heaven forbid people invest in each other. Like, I think that's what people miss. They think you're flexing and you're kind of describing
Right.
this is how they're supposed to work.
That girl in that video go, oh, I would never give a blowjob. Yeah, because the guy that you happen to be married to isn't worth giving a blowjob to. You're not worried.
And he put up with that, dude. My girl comes home after doing a podcast for 1 million people saying that, like, oh, I hate screwing husbands. They're horrible. I'd give her a blast of shit. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
For you, yeah.
We'd have to have a serious consideration whether I want to be there or not, because that's like a betrayal, man. And I don't think that's again with the thing with the guy's values. Like, what will you and will you not put up with? And a girl treating your dick like it's a laughing stock, I think there's very few things that are worth just like ending a relationship over. That's definitely one of them. I'd put that up there with cheating. Actually, I'd say it's worse than cheating. You can move past cheating. I don't think you can move past like wanting you to sit there and, handle it yourself. It's like, what's the worst thing you could say to a guy as a girl? I had a friend who actually had his wife, just before they divorced, she asked him, are you done yet? Are you done yet? The worst 4 words a man can ever hear in his life. I got laundry
to fold, right? The kids get off school at 4. Yeah, exactly. Well, and then like when I listen to stuff like that, I hear, women joking around and say, oh, I would never do, Yeah. But see, I've been around the girls who are like, hey, would you have a same night lay? Yeah, I would. But only if he wasn't boyfriend material. All right. She banged the hot guy in the foam cannon party. There you go. Wait, there you go. Yes, the hot guy in the foam cannon party, and then you'll go and want to marry the guy, and you will be the slut who fucks like a prude, right? That the girl who's saying, I would never give a blowjob to my husband, ew, that's the slut that fucks like a prude. And it's because that guy is not worth giving a blowjob to. That guy
didn't know any better to think better of himself.
Yep. He's not where, and the guy will probably, and I don't know the relationship, but those are the words of a woman who is saddled with a guy that other men don't care to be, and other women would never even consider fucking. And that's what I love too.
A lot of guys bug you about that. Well, you don't know their relationship. You're like, I only know what she told me. And if that's the entire, like, describe your relationship, and that's the only information she gives you, I think that tells you just enough to be able to make your decision too. So it's not like you're taking giant leaps of faith here either, Rollo. It's pretty. Yeah. It's like she didn't tell you anything. She didn't say he buys me flowers. She didn't say he's great. She didn't say like I can't walk today. It was like, nah, I told him to go handle it in the bathroom because I couldn't even imagine kissing him down there.
Right.
Like, fair enough.
Right. And you're okay to live that way. You're good that way. Right.
That's the part.
That's normal.
She acts bad because he lets her.
Yeah, maybe that's it. She's your problem, right? Today's topic. This is Walt Rollo. How many men, older than 50, are getting validational sex from 20s babes, like a la Kevin Samuels?
746 of them.
Is Kevin Samuels knocking out 20-year-old babes?
I don't know. I don't really care.
I will say this though. Maybe not in 20s, but I will tell you this is that if you know game, if you make money, make muscles, if you're on top, if you've maximized your potential as a 50-year-old guy and you happen to find yourself single, you have a lot more options than you think you do. And
I could say at least 2 in my community that are doing that.
Yeah.
They're giving me field reports because they're running into problems now because they've been out of the game for so long, and it's kind of neat.
Are they
like those problems?
Are they not with an 18-year-old? Probably not, but you know what? They could probably nail a young,
27,
late 20s, early 30s. Nobody's saying that if you learn all this stuff or you become red pill aware that you're going to get with swimsuit models, and that's what everybody throws out there. It's always this binary extreme. You can't get with a Victoria's Secret lingerie model.
Who promised that?
Who promised that to you so I can go kick his ass?
Let me see this Gumroad course for $297.
Yeah, please, because I want it. Because I want to see what it's all about.
Well, that's another thing. That's one of those tells when you can tell a guy just has never had sex. They always talk about 9s and 10s. It's like guys who have been in the trenches. They've had their slump busters in the past. They've had that. Well, it was a fatty, but I had to get past it. Like they already kind of know. Good enough is good enough. And they don't bust each other's balls about 8s, 9s, and 10s. It's always the virgins that assume you have to have a supermodel or nothing. And you can just see the cope seething off of it. Besides, most girls meet in the middle anyway. Most girls are average, about the same attractiveness. What is it? 4s, 5s, and 6s. Everything else is makeup and ego.
That's the bell curve, man.
Yeah.
When you look at
although yours and mine, they're both 10s.
Yeah, John and I have looked at this before. It's because John's like really hypersensitive of fat American, people, but certainly women, right? And so we looked at the stats for this, and did you know that for obesity rates, like to say nothing of people who are overweight in the United States, which is like right around 73%, but of the obese, like people who are like morbidly obese,
right,
40% are women, and like 35 or 36 are men. So there are more morbidly obese women than there are men, like fractionally, but still. And I think that, like, guys, if you just get yourself into a normal weight class, you're already out competing 73% of your competition. It's like, I don't know what else to tell you.
That's the beauty of the Pareto principle, man. It's a sliding scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where do you want to be? Do you want to date 6s and 7s and you're a 5? Well, then, here's the plan. That's a whole lot easier than I'm a 5 and I want to date. I'm only going to date a virgin, Victoria's Secret angel. She has to be,
Yeah,
dude.
I only want to date Wonder Woman. All right, sir. Good luck to you. I wish you luck.
Yellow says, hi, my rich friend. Married for 10 years, has 2 kids. Okay. His wife fights about everything and he's afraid she will leave him. What should he do?
Stop doing that. She's a mom with 2 kids. Mm-hmm. What's waiting? What out there is waiting for her when he leaves or when she leaves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I get this all the time. Guys will say, Rollo, why is it that you say that hypergamy is not a straitjacket? Women will leave you for the next guy that's better than you. It's like, yeah, but women also, their sexual market value decays as they age. They change. They have 2 kids after 10 years of marriage.
And some girls just suck at picking up men. Like, they're not all perfect.
Do you think that woman at 10 years of 10 years of marriage with 2 kids is as, let's say, sexually marketable as she was 10 years ago with no kids?
Oh yeah, you've been on liquor promos. I'm sure you've seen like the Cougar Patrols, the ones where it's like divorced, 38, they're going out, they got the jean jacket on and the perm again from 1989. You're just like,
yes.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
Walking up real sexually aggressive to guys, and the guys are like learning to let them down like softly so they don't get a drink in the face.
Yeah.
You've seen that train wreck.
Yes.
They got the woo arm where they like throw it up like this and yell woo for no reason. I call them woo girls.
God, I really don't want to tell this story, but I will.
Yes.
So I went to go see Lamb of God and Megadeth and who else was? Oh, and Trivium. Trivium was amazing. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the merch line waiting to get like this T-shirt and some other stuff. And I'm the designated guy to go sit in the merch line with all the money and go pick up, for all the guys that I'm there with, right? So I'm sitting around there, and there's this like woman who's maybe she's in her 40s or something like that. And she's about two spots behind me in the line. And she's just striking up conversations with me and talking my ear off. And I don't know if she was single or whatever she was, but she was there for a reason. Obviously, she's a fan. And we get up, and so the line splits, right? So like different parts of the merch, right? She gets ahead, and she looks back at me, and she goes, because she wants to continue talking to me the whole time, right? And she even lets me get in front of her in that the new line that was created. And I get up there, I'm buying stuff, and then she's looking at me, and she's like, I'll buy you a shirt if you hang out with me, kind of thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I was like,
thank you, but no thank you.
I'm like, I got like this big wallet full of cash because I only want to use cash when I'm buying merch. And I'm like, I'm good, really. I'm flattered, but thank you, kind of thing. And it kind of shocked me for a minute there. I was like, wow, but that's, I think one of the funny things, you just mentioned this a second ago, is, how like girls will all wear jeans jackets or they all have that kind of uniform.
Yeah.
Older women will do exactly the same thing. There's like different fashion, like collective fashions, I guess, amongst, those particular demographic. Yeah,
that denim leather jacket, jean, perm, the makeup that's like something's off, but you can't quite, you could spot them a mile away.
Yep. So anyways, I'm going to throw this one out here, just last but not least, just a comment on this real fast.
An example of this would be essentially when you first, this is why I like to date them instead of just having an arrangement with them, because I want them to fall in love with me and I want them to think that I'm in love with them. So in the beginning, you play the damsel in distress. You do that for a couple months, and you tell them that you had sexual trauma that prevents you from being able to just immediately be active with them. When you tell them that after you build up a connection and you love bomb them, you tell them like, oh my gosh, I can really see myself building a future with you, blah, 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 blah. This is something that I've always wanted and I could never find in dating younger men. I find security and stability in you, but all this other shit. And then you do that until you know for a fact that you've pushed it too far. Then they're going to start to pressure you. Once they start to pressure you, you essentially reverse psychology on them to be like, I can't believe that you would ever do something like that to me. I was getting ready to open up to you and you're actually pressuring me. You made things seem like they aren't happening organically, that you're trying to force something.
See?
She looks like a chick off a Ralph Bakshi cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. That's the finesse. That's the actual, like, I threw that in there because she's very, like, the mechanics of it, I guess the tactics, the strategies of that are very similar to what Brittany Renner was doing, right? She's talking about sugar dating, though, okay? So, like, that's a big deal now. Like, I guess for whatever reason, suddenly it's okay to be paying for box, right? Suddenly it's okay to be sugar dating. So suddenly
you just need that degree of separation, right? I just paid the subscription service, the sleeping thing. I don't know. That's free.
Yeah, exactly. But like that again, this is that women don't care. Yeah, finesse. Thank you very much. That's actually what Myron and Fresh call it. You'll get finesse. This is that strategy. What you're just talking about. That's the finesse. Brittany Renner. That's the finesse. 2018 was the finesse. 2021 was the results of that finessing. That's the underlying mechanics of that. Now, again, guys are like, women are going to see this and they go, wait, well, not all women are like that. They want to have good, you're just focusing on ratchet hoes, or those are only the girls in Miami. Okay, maybe, but
yeah, when you're in a minefield, you're only focusing on the mines, not the flowers. Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. Well,
I'll see about that.
Yeah, and that's again, that's they don't care if it's out in the open. You can there's tons, like there's I think there's aggregate sites right now. I think there might be some, like, I know this is a really hot topic. It's one of the reasons why I did the Chik Tok video kind of thing. Like I kind of gave a name to it, but like there's dozens of other guys that are doing exactly this. I almost feel ashamed because I'm like, oh, that'd be a great idea. Like I came up with it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, but they're not saying anything. I've watched a few for research. All they do is like they stare at the girl, they make funny faces, and they go, guys, whammon, am I right?
Yeah.
Follow and subscribe. At least you're trying to like helping guys understand it so you don't fall for some shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to give guys like sort of the breakdown of the mechanics that are going on here, but it's real easy to find those videos because they're all over the place because women don't care if other guys know what's going on with them. And I haven't looked at that particular one, but I feel pretty safe betting that there's probably hundreds of comments of other women on there, either kind of, a little bit kind of disturbed by her, but like
cheering it on.
Yeah. But then the rest of them like, yeah, you get yours, girl. You do what's right for you. That's what's right for you. When Cardi B says like she drugged her old, the guys that she was with and rolled them, like literally like would drug them and, take their wallets and run. And people are like, oh yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do to survive, girl. It's like, well, here it is. And this is the mechanics of it, and it's open. That's what open hypergamy is, by the way. It's not a verb, right? It's like it's just women's openness with being okay with it. And right now, I don't think enough guys really realize the position that they're in with respect to like understanding I think a lot of guys really get this, like they want to because of the red meat videos that are out there. But I don't think enough guys really realize that it's gone from a point of being secret to being open right now.
Which is awesome. What do I say? What do I always say? Thoughterry is not getting worse, it's getting filmed.
Yeah.
Like imagine this in the 70s, like during the peak, like sexual revolution's ongoing. Imagine if those guys were given all this. And there's guys getting mad at this. I'm like, dudes, they just gave you the roadmap. Just take some notes. All right, what shit does she do? Now, see that video. Guy goes in there, sees a girl talking about, hey, just so you know, I've been hurt in the past, daddy issues, whatever. You're like, all right, date's over, because clearly she just wants dinner.
Yeah.
Saved yourself a couple hours and $100. Thank you, madam. Good luck with that lip filler. Tell Ralph Bakshi I said hi. By the way, guys, look up Ralph Bakshi. As soon as you see some of the characters, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't mention some of his films because they got some. They're pretty racist.
Old school, yeah, old school 70s too. I'm gonna say So this is your video. I'm gonna just fast forward it up to the solipsism part here. I'll let you like sort of.
Oh.
It kind of speaks for itself, but this is actually pretty.
Welcome. Another red-pilled coffee. Another
red meat extravaganza. I think it was at the 5-minute mark is where you had this. Let me go see.
Probably the one where. Oh yeah, this.
Right about here. Yeah. Let's look at your French press. There you go.
Who shits about being your shoulder to cry on? They don't care if you think you're a good person. Stop telling them. And I know, all the girls on social media keep telling you that they think men should be allowed to cry more. Don't believe them. They are lying to you.
That was great.
My information on TikTok.
I would never. That is the last thing that I would ever do. And as someone who's in radio, like, this is comedic gold. It is just, I'm gonna play it tomorrow morning on my morning show. Yeah, I'm gonna make you guys listen because I just started there and I need people to like follow me. It feels like Christmas morning. I'm giddy. I'm giddy.
And so the next question is, why is she doing all this? And I know it's bad form to use a 4chan meme to explain the human condition, but God bless those autistic angry men. They had to learn social savviness by rote memorization, so they occasionally hit on a really good gem. In this case, it's an old one about some girl making a duck face, making fun of a guy for Instagram clout.
God, this is great.
All mad. This guy comes in with this gem. The whole reason she took that pic is because she thought that because that silly face was going to make her look cute. But she can't just post some random pic of her making that face because it would be weird. So she looks around and tries to find something weird going on that would be a good excuse to make that face. Maybe I can use the way he's standing as an excuse to take a pic of me making my sexy cute face. He was just a prop, and she could use him to further her own pursuits. His feelings, or even the way he was acting, didn't come into the equation at all. So when a girl tweets about some 6'5" guy that she's thinking about, it's not about the billions of guys who aren't 6'5" that might get upset. She's thinking about that one guy in her class and what she can do to get him to notice her. When you start to take people's feelings out of the equation, only think inwardly, it becomes very easy to understand. Basically, when she posted the pic, the only thing she was going through her mind was, I hope people think this face makes me look cute. And so there you have it. Nobody cares about you, your stupid feelings, or whether you get hurt or not. I know a lot of guys out there think women are the enemy and they hate men, but I am here to set you straight. It's solipsism, bro. They just don't care. You were just in the way. Sorry, not sorry. Now don't get mad about it. I mean, get mad about it if you have to, but then get over it. And now that you know the rules, start playing the game, kind of like this guy.
God, this is the best part.
So I had a date on Saturday with
All right, hold on. Let me take her out real quick because I want you to set this next part up here for me. You have to set this next part up because everybody's gonna go, "What the hell is he talking about?" You have to let's get a little background on this girl because I didn't give you any build
Okay, before I start, can I just say the titles? I think of those. It's like that's when the A team gets called.
I love the background music for those. That's funny as hell.
Yeah, well, she's a radio producer, and she talks about dating, and she got famous because some guy flaked on a date and then called her and left 20 voicemail messages apologizing, threatening her, going through like the 5 stages of denial. And so she like puts him on blast to the internet. Listen to all these emails. By the way, I got a radio station. We're going to listen to it. And his mom calls her, plays the mom shit on there. And then all these incels are making like duets for tweets saying she actually believes this stuff. And like all the, no offense to him, the Better Bachelor shit where it's like, well, this is why women are trash. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, yeah, keep them coming. I need all 9 of your followers to hate watch my stuff. Come on. And it's funny because then I'm like, oh, let's go look in the back. And it former fat girl stuff, whatever. This one, she went on a date with a 6'5" lawyer. First date, she makes it like an hour through. And he's like, yeah, I was hiking. I'm tired. Let's call it a night at like 8. And I'm like, okay, so clearly she did something. He's like, yeah, this bitch is crazy. I'm out of here. Calls her for a booty call. Like, whatever. We'll see what happens. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm not into booty calls. And so he sends like a nice good morning text afterwards. Like, so that way it's like, okay, your text messages shows that you guys are happy and she's not going to me too your ass. And then after the good morning, how's it going? She takes a picture of her food and he just dumps her like the next evening. Yeah, this isn't working out. Sorry. And she got all pissed off. And I kind of like the juxtaposition about how, and I don't want to get too far into it, but yeah, like, so the guys that she can't get, she really wants. And the guys that she can get, not only does she not want, but she treats them like shit for clout. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's all feeling. So it's not really like, it's just the way the world works now. You just have to kind of accept the rules and move on from it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just found it like comedy gold. And I don't feel bad about putting her on blast. Cause I mean, as far as sociopaths go, I'm like, dude, you don't have a leg to stand on by saying I'm being mean. So
yeah, exactly. Well, let's just keep going. This is gold.
A 6'5" lawyer. 7 o'clock. Meet him at a bar.
Wait. That last expression, did that not just give you chills the same way that the Brittany Renner video gave you chills? Because that's what I'm talking about. That's where we're going today.
She's so expressive.
Have a couple of beverages, have some laughs. I have verbal diarrhea. And he says to me at 8:30, hour and a half into the date, I went on a hike earlier today and I'm tired. I think I need to call it a night. And I went, como say what? Fast forward to a few nights later where he is texting me, asking me what I'm up to. It's like 8 o'clock at night, so I tell him I'm in bed because I'm old, eating mango. And then he makes a sexual comment about coming over to eat mango in my bed. Fast forward to the next day where he texts me a beautiful photo of the sun rising and says, good morning. And I respond, good morning, and go about my day. I then send him a photo later that day of what I'm cooking based on like a conversation we had. No response. Fast forward to 9 a.m. the next day. Hey, so I really enjoyed our date and exchanges, but I'm just not sure the spark is there. I think you're gorgeous and hilarious. It's true. And brilliant, and I wish you nothing but the best. Take care and be well. What?
I had a video on this channel about a year ago. Dinner dates are for losers. And this guy, he knows that rule like the back of his hand. I guarantee whatever lawyer Chad we got here has been on a few dates, had a few notches. He knows the game. He went out for a few drinks, because overcommitting on a first date is how you get to put on blast to a few million followers. I don't know what happened on the date. I don't care what happened on the date. What's important on the date is that she did something that crossed some line with him. Novel, eh? Holding a woman around you to a standard. Now, compare that to the first guy. She knows she's an arrogant and selfish prick, and she admits it through half of her videos. I imagine being that first guy, assuming that she's the one, or some other great catch. She doesn't know much about him, except for he's either stupid or a liar. She doesn't think too well of herself. So if he does, then that must mean because he's not to be trusted. But that Chad, though? That one hurts. She was hopeful that he'd do some simp stuff so she can post about it and feel good about herself. Shutting down guys publicly is like crack. It's a flex for chicks. Look at this guy who wants me. Watch me put him on blast. I'm sure that you've seen the typical Twitter alpha male who talks about how he only sleeps with 9s and 10s, brah. Well, this girl is the girl version of that. I only shut down 8s or 9s, brah. Except, this guy, he's not stupid. The last thing you want is to be honest with a woman when you're rejecting her. If you don't believe me, go watch the first few minutes of this video and get back to me. Throw some compliments, do it soft, and make sure, if you do nothing else, make sure you give it a narrative that says in clear, ambiguous terms, this is not your fault, you're a good person. Now, you don't have to do it, but if you're not doing it, don't be surprised when some crazy chick does what crazy chicks do and acts crazy to you where it hurts. Again, if you don't believe me, go down to the list of false Me Too accusations and check out how many of them were chicks who got rejected all mean-like.
Fast forward to 9 a.m. the next day. Hey, so I really enjoyed our date and exchanges, but I'm just not sure the spark is there. I think you're gorgeous and hilarious. It's true. And brilliant, and I wish you nothing but the best. Take care and be well. What?
This last part made me laugh too. Like, this guy knows the game. He doesn't like her, but she's still hot enough, and so he Throws out a test text, and we'll see. She's all confused. I thought he didn't like me. But we know he doesn't. She knows he doesn't. He knows he doesn't. You know he doesn't. And I know he doesn't. Everybody knows. But that's just the game. He threw out a one-time offer to come over and smash. Because, maybe. It's just like an orbiter. Come on over. We're just friends. But, maybe if you play your cards right. So you know that quote from Rollo Tomassi? And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I'll explain. Women would rather share a high-value man than be saddled with a loyal loser. In this case, those texts are how it happens. Now, it didn't happen in this example, unless she's lying, and I'm sure she isn't, because nobody lies on the internet. But that's okay. Nothing's a guarantee. People aren't robots. But I will say this. I can guarantee he's had enough women take that bait that he always throws it out after meeting a psycho, just in case. You don't always catch the big fish, but when you do...
Play it. All right. I'll come back to you. You want me to keep going with that? That was pretty good, though. I like that one.
Yeah, I have a theory, too. Like, all these red-pilled channels getting...
He gets it? Do you think the guy gets it? Like, he's just like...
Chad... Oh, that guy gets it. The first guy has no clue. That guy gets it. It was so obvious, too, because it's like, she's like, yeah, we went on a date, it's good. He called it off at 8:30, and, like, he went on a hike and he's tired. I'm like, dude, I've been on hikes. He's not tired. But then what's he do? He calls her at, like, 8 in the evening with what you up to.
I'll power through it.
Yeah, gave the booty call. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's already checked out. Nobody leaves a date that early. So he's like, but, let's see if we can get some. And then she says no. So he sends a couple little, like, hey, text, some nice pleasant shit. And then, that was the soft rejection. That was saying, stay the fuck away from me, you crazy bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And she is. She knows she is. She is.
So this chick was fat and then she got thin. Is that what we were talking about?
Oh, yeah, that part. So I started doing a deep dive because it's TikTok and clearly you have to do research before you do videos. High school, fat kid. Everybody made fun of her. She talked about being bullied, except for this one guy that she had a crush on, this engineer, brought math books on their honeymoon. Everything was great. And 5 years of marriage, 8 years together. The only stories she could say about him were the ones that made her a victim and him an asshole. He got mad at me once for being fat. And I was like, out of 8 years, that's the story you tell. Obviously, she's trying to make you believe that he just was like an abusive boyfriend the whole time. Fine. So I know then she lost weight either before or after the divorce. And then I can do better than this. Now that she's hot, she's like, I don't need this guy. And now she's finding that, it's actually a little harder than it looks. Especially when you're, I don't know, college would have been 21, 8 years past that. So it's like about 30, whatever.
How old is she?
I don't know. It's probably somewhere, got to be close to epiphany phase.
Yeah.
And that's when, it's not as easy as when you're 23. Yes, it's a little bit harder. And that attitude's probably not helping. Yeah, and it's just funny. I just watched this train wreck and I'm like, boys, like, look at this. This is everything you need to know. Just watch it and don't do what the first guy did where he cries about how he's a nice person so she could put him on blast. Be the other guy. He's like, yeah, come over, let's smash. No, I don't want to. All right, the sunset's nice. By the way, we're not working out. Those two guys, like, dude, that guy was maybe he's an asshole, but right now he's not known as the guy whose mom called this girl on a radio station to say, please date my son. So I'll take asshole any day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe it. I should have stolen more quotes from like a lot of the guys making like review TikToks for it. It's all neckbeards, like literally neckbeards, talking about how she's an asshole and it's her fault. And I'm just like, guys don't want to know the game. They just want to get mad at some blonde chick. That's all they want. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck these guys. But doing it this way with the catchy music and making it fun, I have a feeling it was going to keep me from getting banned. Because I think Myron got banned from TikTok, didn't he? For saying like, smack some respect into these bitches. And I'm saying the same thing with better language, a little softer. Not as harsh. Yeah, it won't piss people off. It probably won't get as much reach, but I'll still be on TikTok next year. Heaven forbid you guys learn euphemisms and subtext that might come in handy when you're dating and using game. I don't know. Maybe you know, Rollo. Does subtext help?
Yes. Well, so my takeaway from this was both these guys are playing games, right? I mean, the guy who is the earlier guy was all about, wearing his heart on his sleeve. Like that's beta game for sure. Right? This is a really good example. If you haven't seen this, go watch it on Ryan's channel. It was It was an example of a guy who is certainly blue pill, and then the other guy, and I don't know the guy for sure is red pill, but it seems it clearly the methodology is in some way red pill to this guy, or he was just like, you know what, I'm just being pragmatic and I'm done with the bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially at, you know, if he's 6'5", he's a lawyer, and you know, and he's in some way good looking enough to attract her interest. Yeah, the guy is probably accustomed, at least habituated to being rewarded by other women. Mm-hmm. Most likely, when you end a date, and I've told guys to do this before, is like, if you don't think something's working out, man, like end the date and go get with something that's going to be more productive. That's the whole reason for spinning plates. I made that example as far back as like 2013, 2011, right? Spinning plates is not just about like, oh, you got to bang anything on two legs, you know? Nope. Let's notch count. Like, that's the only way you can, you know, be a man, right? That's not what plate theory is about.
And it's rare. How many guys in her life, let's say she's dated 100 guys, not even slept with, just dated. Mm-hmm. How many of those guys do you think actually walked out during the date?
Yeah,
probably one. It's rare as shit to have standards, man. Rare as shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, props to Tom Likas. He used to say this too. If a woman breaks out her cell phone in the middle of a date, it's like, it's me calling her. So end the date right there, right? It's another guy that she's setting up. And when you flip that script, when you're the guy that says, you know what, I was hiking today, I'm a little bit tired, so we'll pick this up. I'll circle back to you.
Could he not think of a lamer excuse though? It's like, oh, just say I got work in the morning. That's the standard. I got work early in the morning. I have to go.
Yeah, exactly.
I work at 2:30 in the morning. I have to leave.
My hair. Yeah. Well, and then I'm sure she's not used to. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm sure she's not used to that. But that is, and if you want to call that direct game, if you want to call that like, you know, dumping having the foresight to dump a time waster like that, then yeah, exactly. Go do exactly that. That's what I keep saying, is like one of the reasons why I talked about plate theory from the earliest days is it's pragmatism. It's not punishment. It's just being pragmatic. It's
self-respect, self-love, throw any term you want in there. They all work.
Yeah, this
Dignity.
is going nowhere. And my one of my plates is getting off of her shift at 9 o'clock. So yeah, I'm feeling kind of tired. Time to go to bed, right?
It don't even have to be for a new plate. Dude, I've done it before. Like, I want to play some Call of Duty. I just left.
Just go.
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, any excuse is fine as long as you're valuing your time enough to put it towards the thing you want to do. And if the girl wants your time, then she has to be better to you than whatever it is you want to go to. It's like training a dog. You know how those people in the dog park, they always yell at their dogs when they're misbehaving and they're like, my dog never comes. Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, it's because you just made yourself an asshole. If you make yourself more fun than whatever the dog's screwing around with, he'll come to you when you call him.
Right.
So that's, I guess, training dogs. Every guy needs, get greyhounds, guys.
Right.
Apparently greyhounds make you red pill.
That's it. Yeah. It doesn't matter if they're Italian or they're full size.
Yeah.
The compact version. Is there any more of this you want me to put on there, or is that good?
It's up to you. It's whatever you want to do for your topic, right? I said, it can stand on its own.
I have one more thing that I want you to opine on that I think is related to what we're talking about today. So I'll yank this one out real quick and then pull that real fast.
Let's see this ratchet doing ratchet things.
No, it's not a ratchet. This is not. No, now we're going to get technical because I have seen. Oh, wait, what is this? Hold on. This is a good one. Thanks for that $20. Ghosted on a girl. Okay. A month later. Girl A, a month later, girl B, her friend, decided to teach me a lesson. Not a huge loss. Waited at a local bar for about 10 minutes before bailing the next day. Girl comes clean. Didn't even reply, which probably pissed them off more.
Does that sound to you like a girl that's not invested?
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like a girl that's like, strong. What is that? Strong emotions, negative. As long as they're strong.
Yeah. Girl A. Yes. Yeah. Most likely. Yeah. I think there's a vindictiveness that, especially within the sisterhood, like, oh, I'll get one of my sisters to go help me out, and we'll play it. Yeah. We'll trick him. We'll turn him into a rube. You know.
Yeah. I've had that, dude. The first chapter of my book, that girl that I slept with that I forgot I'd even met before. Turns out she was a roommate of the single mom in there from Melissa, and that first time sleeping with me is just like because she was pissed off at her roommate there. It was the only reason she was into me. It didn't matter any of the game I ran. Mm-hmm. It was just one of those funny little epiphanies. Like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So girls getting mad at you is not necessarily a deal breaker. Cool.
Well, we'll get invested in you and be OCD about you.
Yeah.
You know? That's I don't. You want to talk about like sex that like validational versus transactional sex? A girl that is like, and maybe she's psycho, right? But like that's a chick who's invested in you. That's a chick who wants.
That's genuine desire. That
is definitely genuine desire. You got to be very careful of that. You got to curate that desire, but
careful what you ask for.
There it is. Yeah, you can get it. It's just not very healthy, and or could be very unhealthy. But
nope. But I know that now.
Yes,
and I know the signs, and I'm not falling for it again.
Right. And people think I have a real problem with like mode 1, or I have a problem with like direct game. I don't. I know that it works for some guys, but as you were saying before, here is playing the game. Right. This is playing the game. The guy who was the second guy in this example, the 6'5" lawyer, that guy was playing the game. He's playing the game with her. And you know what? In fact, he played the game, and he played it the right way, according to even indirect game. He's like, you know what? I'm done with this time waster, and this is me. See you later. Thanks, but no thanks. You know, and he didn't say it in those words. It was actually like very well delivered. I should say
brilliant.
Yeah, it was brilliantly delivered. But that's like I keep telling guys, it's like women don't want to be told that they're playing a game. They want to play the game. And if that's the case, play better than she does. And if you want to say, hey, I'm not going to waste my time with a dead end, then you get out of it. Yeah, act very good. And here is a great example of a guy pragmatically ejecting from what is clearly she's nuts. I mean, like, clearly she's insane. And the guy picked up on that, and he goes, oh, look at the time. And played the game and got out. He didn't say, okay, are you DTF? No. Okay, well, let him out. Like there was none of that. And as you were saying before, like guys like Fresh and they know I criticize them on this, so I'll do it again, is that they should know better than what they got slapped with. Okay. There's no reason on planet Earth that Myron Gaines needed to do what he did. Right.
Yeah. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
You want me to smack? Yeah, exactly. You want me to smack him? There's a smack. Okay. Didn't need to do that, but was very efficient, was very on point the whole time. Isn't that what we're talking about? Isn't
Jumbotron rule, man? Royce had that back in 2014. And I know you know that article.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was like, that's a perfect example. I love Royce, and you are such good compliments because you read your top level stuff, but then Royce's got some very in the trenches stuff that kind of maps your stuff to human interaction, and I just find it just brilliant.
He's a good writer too. He's very good writer. I know.
And he actually, unlike Rivlino and those guys, he's actually had sex. So when he talks, you can know there's something behind it.
Yeah, exactly. You could tell that from his game like savvy, I guess. Oh yeah. But again, it's like you can still, play the game. In fact, I hope you can. I hope you can play better. Most guys just simply don't have the patience for it.
That's why it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why direct game is so appealing to guys. It's like, oh, are you down to fuck? No. Okay. Well, then look at the time, right? That's the whole thing. There's no finesse. There's no game. There's no, like, women want the chemical rush that comes from trying to figure you out.
Dude, imagine telling your greyhounds, hey, I'll give you a ride to the other side of the park. Hop in. I'd rather run. Thanks.
But
that's how I look at it.
Well, first of all, they don't have the mentality for it, or they don't have the patience for it. I don't want to. Who wants to? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares?
Funny enough, all these guys rambling about stoicism. Yeah, all the Stoics. Yeah, I got no patience for this. Well, maybe keep reading that stoicism then. Yeah, you'll learn a little.
Yeah, you'll be on that, and then you'll hit me up when you're 45 years old and go, Rollo, I'm still a virgin. How do I get the girls? You're the dude that told me, like 10 years ago how you were, done with the game. The girls can't see the greatness of me, then I'm just gonna wait over here in the corner until you do.
Yeah, wish you luck, sir. If it works out, write it down. I'll be happy to tell everybody else about it.
So this is okay, and we're at the 2 hour mark, and I have to throw this in there because this was really good. Okay. I got the, and you'll understand why I tagged this at the very end here, because I think it's very pertinent to the idea of, are women your problem? Are they not your problem? How do we get to where we're at? Right? Guys will always say, things would be a lot different if guys would just take responsibility, and things were, women are the way they are because men are the way they are. Women love that too, by the way. I don't want to just blame that on men, because men will usually use that as a write-off, like, well, we just need to man up, right? That's all you're saying, is you're just explaining to me that that's the appropriate, responsibility, masculine responsibility way of telling me man up. That's pretty much what it is. But you guys are the result of at least 2 generations of a feminine primary social order telling you to man down. That's why this is confusing, and that's why this seems novel. It's not novel. I've been doing this for 20 years. Trust me, it is not a new thing. But I was looking at this interview, and of course you are familiar with a young lady by the name of Michaela Peterson.
Hey,
yeah,
Cloudy McClouderson. It's good to see you again,
the
sir.
last person on planet Earth who should be giving anybody advice, especially when it comes to interpersonal relationships. She's been riding her dad's coattails for a very long time, and will probably continue to do so into the future. One thing, and before I get into today's video, I want you to look at how she's dressed and like what she's about right now. Remember, she is the mother of 1. And this is the same girl that decided in 2018 that it was a good idea to take a break from her marriage and her newborn child, by the way, and fly to Romania and meet a certain award-winning MMA fighter.
Wow.
But the sex never happened, and decided to fly back and reconcile and everything else. Okay, so let's just throw that one out there. I got to preempt that. But if you look at the way she's dressed right now, you look how she is. She looks like she's about like 14 years old.
I'm going to laugh if she's doing like the denim jacket perm look that I was just talking about.
Yeah. Let's see. Amar says, why do girls keep checking me out even after rejecting my direct approaches? Because they
Why do you care?
Why do you care? Yeah, exactly. Oh, be pragmatic. Just get away. Who cares? But second of all, it's like the reason why is because she wants attention. She wants to put you in orbit. That's all. Next silly question. How long you been watching this channel, Amar?
It's fine. 76 times the charm. We'll get it.
Yeah, well,
you guys will get it.
You got to keep hammering this stuff home. Anyways, so she has Brett Weinstein on now. If you guys have read my 4th book, you'll understand that I kind of like Brett. I think he's a smart guy. A lot of people are going to say, oh, he's one of the Jewish plot guys or whatever, but he's got a new channel right now where he's
is that his podcast with the
No, it's not his it's on her podcast, but he's doing a new podcast, and I don't know if the woman on this show is his wife. I'm not, because she's got a different last name, but I'm presuming either they're together or maybe they're married and she never took his last name, which speaks volumes.
Oh, she's got PhDs, papers, right? So you can't change your name for papers.
Both doctors. So the reason I thought you might get a kick out of this is because it's very reminiscent of another evolutionary psychologist who is also married to.
Of course, you're sitting on Miller.
Married to another evolutionary. Oh, excuse me. She's a behavioral psychologist. That's why I like Diana. I love Diana to death. But anyways,
we like them both. I should say, when we're dunking on them, it's out of love, right?
And the only reason I don't even have him blocked. I think Jeff has me blocked, but it's just because he thinks that I'm an armchair, evolutionary psychologist, which I am. But
your wife doesn't bang other dudes. So
yeah, and that's again, I think he's brilliant. I think he's got a lot of good things to say. But again, he's one of these dudes that is very frustrating to me. Like Dr. Jordan Peterson, Warren Farrell, Jeff Miller.
There's no way you don't think of the same as Steven Pinker.
All these guys have all this data and all of this really fantastic empirical understanding of human nature and everything else. I can't say the same about Steve Stewart Williams because he's a really good dude. I don't know enough about him or whatever, but he's a good dude. But like, these guys are the dudes that frustrate the hell out of me
because they ignore their own research.
Freaking brilliant, man. Like, how can you? It's just like it's a curb this high and just jump over the curb, and they just can't do it for whatever reason. They want to save their tenure, or that's not on brand for them, or whatever else. It's like I attribute my early sort of unplugging or red pilling, whatever you want to. It's not a verb, but red pill moment to Dr. Warren Farrell by reading Why Men Are the Way They Are when I was much in my 20s, actually, when I read that. But again, knowing who the guy is, it's really frustrating. Same thing with Brett Weinstein. I think he's brilliant. I think he comes up with some really good stuff. His conclusions, the dots, he has the dots, right? But the connections he makes from those dots is just like, no, why are you doing that? Like, what's the point? So let me throw this on here for you real quick. This is off of Michaela Peterson's show. Hopefully I don't get a strike.
Right, let's see what she does.
I don't think I will. Nope, that's not it. Hang on. That's a video file. By the way, video file sharing is so much better than trying to stream it in from somewhere else. No, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah, I do find it funny. I guess I'll just blab on while you're looking for the video.
Yeah, blab on real quick. I'm pulling it up.
Like, girls are very good opportunists, and I can't even fault her for it. Dad was popular. She found her moment. He was in the hospital. She gets to be his cheerleader. So not only does she get to steal his clout, but she gets to be... Oh, never mind.
Go ahead. Finish your thought. I got.
Yeah, not only does she get to steal his clout, but she gets to be a good person while doing it. And I was like, that's a brilliant play.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you like that? There you go.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Real women need to take back the bangs that the feminists stole.
If you go and you look at Michaela back in like 2018, she does not even... That doesn't even resemble that. I don't even know who that person is. Okay, so this is Brett Weinstein, and this is his... I think her name is Heather, and I don't remember her last name. I apologize. But they are doing a podcast together, and I looked at the channel. They look like they might be husband and wife. I'm not sure. They're certainly very close, put it that way. Yeah. So this is one of the things that Brett was talking about, and I think it's kind of pertinent to what we're talking about today.
Somewhat so, which says there's been a lot of polygyny.
But we are less so than our closest relatives.
Right, less so than our closest relatives, which means that recent evolution has reduced that dimorphism. We've been moving in the direction of monogamy, and more to the point, the recent history of our species is one in which monogamous cultures have flourished and spread. And so most people alive on Earth today come from cultures that are monogamous. And so as much as our ancient history may involve some degree of polygyny, our modern evolutionary history points in the direction of monogamy. And from our perspective, we shouldn't really care what evolution wants for us. Evolution is not an honorable process.
I love that.
We can understand that the advantages that caused monogamy to spread in recent evolutionary history are advantages that we should value, and therefore we should stabilize monogamy in humans. So those advantages include a reduction in violence, a reduction in warlikeness, so violence within your population, right? And the tendency of a population to attack other populations will be increased by polygyny, which tends to sideline a certain number of males, right? For every male who has multiple partners, there will be at least one male who has none. Those sexually frustrated males who are left out of mating and dating can very easily be turned into an army to seek profit abroad. And frankly, the history of warfare is one with an awful lot of sexual violence associated with it too. So,
right. So just to be clear, the violence that is reduced as you move from a polygynous to a monogamous society will be both men against other men, but also men against women. That both of those kinds of violence will be reduced.
Right. And the fact is, human babies are incredibly labor intensive to raise.
Yes.
A monogamous culture is one in which that burden is distributed much more fairly, right? Because monogamous cultures bring all males who are capable of being brought into child rearing into the system, and therefore distributes the labor more broadly. It creates.
Bet you the trads are jerking off to this right now.
Are full siblings rather than half siblings, so their tendency to cooperate will go up. So the
All right, so I'm gonna stop right there because I'm gonna push it up a little bit because the meat of the show was something else. But we'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to preface the rest of this with that part right there, because what he's describing is exactly what has led to we're reversing this right now, and we've been reversing this since the time of the sexual revolution. One invention created that. And that is hormonal birth control that is unilaterally controlled by women.
2 inventions. The steam engine, I would say 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, no, like without the ability to separate labor from productivity, I don't think the birth control pill would have been able to do all the heavy lifting on its own. But I mean, that's an argument on another day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And yes, I am watching the chat here, and yeah, okay, he's blue pill. Yeah, he's very much blue pill, and I'll tell. And we're going to see just how much so in a minute here. Now, her name is Amy Haying or something like that, or Hay something or other. And I guess that is his wife. No.
I need to get that podcast whispers thing that she's got going. I would kill for that. Yes, Rollo, tell me more about hypergamy.
Yes, ASMR with him. Hi, you're on.
Damn straight.
This is Delilah After Dark.
So do you want some do you want some technical my thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead before I lay into them.
Yeah, well, it's values. Most guys, when they think they're opining or they think they're doing analysis, they're actually just spouting values, and it's preaching to the choir. They're pandering to an audience. But the difference is most of the time people do that. They say, well, this is what Jesus wanted. He's doing the secular thing. Well, science technically wants this. Evolution wants this. And he does make a reference that we shouldn't want what evolution wants because he's right. In evolutionary terms, our genes are the players. We're the ball. They work on eons, timelines. We work on a couple decades. So evolutionary speaking, what's beneficial shouldn't factor into our decisions at all. By the time it plays out, we're dead. But by appealing to science that way, and he talks about science as if it's a thing, as if it's like a truth. Everybody starts looking at this and goes, oh, well, it's the laws of nature. It's like physics, right? Y equals MC squared. Monogamy works better. Therefore, you need to stop thoughting around and get back into the kitchen barefoot and, sleep with me and give me blowjobs every second week. That's what guys are hearing. But they get that degree of separation where they don't think like that feeling is reinforced by every one of those speeches. But we're actually talking about science and evolution and like possible things. And this is PhD stuff. And I'm very smart because I listen to smart people, even though you get somebody to repeat back what they just heard and they'll never be able to do it. It's like, have you ever heard somebody hear like a comedian tell a joke and then tell it to you the next day and they just butcher the shit out of it? Well, that's what people are going to do after watching Weinstein's cast here. Yeah. They're going to pick and pull like ideology. It's like, oh, well, look, here's a very well-educated man who said something that I agree with. And that's what frustrates me about it because it's most of it. Because he's smart. He can actually help teach a lot of guys. And I think he honestly wants to try it. But I think just by following what's successful as a platform, you're just led into this path where you need to pander to people. And Jordan Peterson did that. That's why he ended up getting eaten by that beast, because he pandered and pandered. Right. He thought he was doing good, but like, I'll just give a little bit more of like what they want to hear. And then what happened? He ended up on whatever crack. I don't know. Almost died. His sister or his daughter ends up like, scavenging the corpse to make herself a career out of it. Prescription painkillers, but go ahead. Yeah. And I like it. He's kind of got back to normal. He's like, all right, let's talk more about clinical psychology again, which is good. And he had a great interview with Rex Murphy, Canadian treasure, by the way. He's like our Walter Cronkite. He's awesome. But and I don't like that because everybody gets the impression that they're smart without actually having to do things that require intelligence to do. And I think those lies are not helpful. I like Weinstein because I did quote him when I was discussing the difference between sort of like metaphorical truth and objective truth. And I think he made a really brilliant observation on that, although he was sort of like lifting from some other people too. But like that whole thing, I thought that was a brilliant idea. I thought that was I got it, right? And it explained a lot as far. I'm not a neuroscientist by any stretch, God forbid. I just play one on the internet. But I thought that was a brilliant, observation. And I used that in book 4, which by the way, Audible, go get it now. It's on. And so when I listen to guys like this and I hear like this kind of stuff and what I'm about, there's one extra little bit to hear. I wanted the last bit that I want to get to, but when I hear guys like this, I get that same frustration. It's like people are going to listen to this and they're going to go, "Oh, this is the science is settled." It's like, no, it's not how science works. No, these are the dots that he has discovered, and he knows the same dots I know. He knows the same dots that Steven Pinker knows. He knows the same dots. Certainly knows the same dots that Jeff Miller knows, and certainly knows the same dots that like Steve Stewart Williams knows. So they're all our Godsod, right? It makes me wonder what Godsod would say about this whole thing too, because Godsod would probably run his ass up the flagpole for this one. But the thing is he's inserting this idea again. Remember last podcast I was trying to separate the difference between the red pill as a praxeology versus people trying to turn it into an ideology, because they want
the science to fit belief. They want the objective reality to be force fit and crammed into an ego invested belief set. That's what they want. Instead of going, nope, we're putting, and I try to do this. I said this in every introduction of every single book I've ever written. You know, everything that you know right now, push it out to the periphery right now. And we're just going to look at the data. We're just going to look at here's some dots. Here's how I'm connecting them. Yes. Am I going to step on your toes when it comes to, you know, what you think, you know, women are, you know, sugar and spice and everything nice, right? It's going to challenge your blue pill beliefs. It's going to challenge your religious beliefs or your atheist beliefs as well, because those guys are very much invested in the same kind of nonsense that people who are religious are invested in when it comes to intersexual dynamics. I try to make that as clear as I possibly can. Here I have Brett Weinstein, who is a very educated guy, making connections that the only reason he would be making these is because he's trying to play to a feminine primary social order. He's trying to force fit the data into an ideology. Well, I'm here with my wife. It's almost as if, like, and I've commented on this before. Every time I've gone to like a Christian church or something like an evangelical church or whatever, and it's Valentine's Day, and the pastor has to talk about, here's the relationship between men and women and blah, blah, blah. And he starts talking about, and there was a time back in the early 2000s where like Christian pastors were trying to get women to have sex more with their husbands because pornography, like online pornography, was starting to become a quote unquote addiction. And guys were like, that. In fact, you couldn't even say the word addiction without guys going, yeah, I know what you mean, brother. And it wasn't chemical addictions. Yeah. And so they would go up there and they would start talking about, you know, healthy relationships and marriage and this. And, you know, it's usually the pastor's like a youth minister or was a youth minister at some point, met his wife when he was like 19 at the church camp. And now he wants to tell you how, you know, here's the Christian red pill for you. And the first thing he does is he drags his wife up on the stage or the pulpit with him as well, because he can't be there talking about those kinds of things without his female like overseer in the locker room, right? She has to be there to make sure he doesn't say anything wrong. I get the same vibe from this right here. The reason she's there is so he doesn't say anything wrong and she can add the 2 cents of, okay, this is what the gynocracy's, you know, approved statement would be, and let me make sure that I insert my, you know, female perspective in here because I want to make sure you're saying the right thing. It's almost exactly that same dynamic here, although it's in a non.
Which is funny because listening to her, you hear it a lot. Like a lot of the times when he'll say something, she'll add a nuance to it.
Yes.
And if you hear, there's some pushback in the chat, by the way, where guys are like, you guys are immature and childish about this opinion. You're very jealous. And I was like, look, you don't have to believe me. Here's what you do.
I'm not making
every time you hear it.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, every time you hear these intellectuals talking about this stuff, listen for the word therefore. Everything after the word therefore, I want you to pay attention to that. And if that doesn't sound like a value judgment, then yeah, we're wrong and immature. But I bet you're going to start hearing that. Science. Therefore, value.
Here's what we should do.
I just ruined podcasts for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I made that analogy last week when I was talking about the difference between, like, say, belief and empiricism, right? You know, the whisper post that I was talking about, like, it's actually in my fourth book as well. With the difference between believers versus empiricists, and it's this moral absolutism versus factual absolutism, right? And you're not speaking the same language. Well, here's Brett Weinstein switching language mid-sentence.
Oh, very Mott and Bailey vibes.
Yes, switching language mid-sentence. And as I said before, one of the first place I always, when people say, "Oh, I want to debate you, Rollo," I want to know what we're debating about. Are we debating about an objective truth, or are we debating about an ideology? Because the first thing that anybody will do when it comes to the red pill is they will try to turn red pill praxeology and make it more understandable or digestible by turning it into a philosophy, ideology, a belief. You know, red pill believes this. No, we don't. It's not a belief. Here are the dots, right? Red pill philosophy says this. No,
there's no philosophy,
right? So it could be you just gave a good example, right? Well, red pill says this, blah 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 blah. Therefore, they believe X. That's the judgment call. That's the belief instillment. That's the prescription.
I think that's why people get mad about it, because there's nothing. Well, for good red pilled content creators, I should say that there's no therefore. It's blah, blah, blah. This works, this works, this works. I usually use Kantian. If you guys want to talk smart, let's talk smart. How Kant has hypothetical and categorical imperatives. Categorical imperatives, simply put, are things are good on the face of it. You know, go to church, pay your taxes, be a good person. Those are good, but you shouldn't have to explain why. They just are. It's like laws of the universe. That's value stuff. That's blue pill, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
We are hypothetical. If X, then Y. If you want to get laid more, here's some things you do. If you don't want to get laid more, then don't do them. Here's how you hold together a relationship. Here's some things you do. If you're having a problem with boundary enforcement, here's what you do. If you're not having the X, then you don't have to care about the Y. And that's why it can't be a value system. Because everybody's going to have their own set of problems. Maybe some guys are going to value some. Maybe some guys really don't want to get laid. Like, I'm MGTOW, I'm just doing my own thing. So the sleeping with stuff doesn't really matter to me. But using game in business does. So they're going to have a whole different set of values they're going to apply to this stuff. So as soon as we start saying, therefore, you must, as a high-value man, date a girl with no tattoos who can cook you steak 3 days a week and gives you a blowjob on Tuesdays, all we're doing is just appealing to people who want that. And that closes off the amount of men who are able to benefit from other men's experiences. And I find that's why you got to hate your audience, man. Like, no offense. Your audience, great. My audience, great. Everybody else's, though. You got to hate them a bit. Because they'll lead you down to this shit, and they'll end up making you pander, make you dance like Peterson did, and make you take prescription medication to handle the stress of like dealing with all the shit every day in and out. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Yeah. We're going to give you content the best we can, but you don't get a say in it. Art is not a democracy.
Yeah. What is it?
Sorry for shitting on your audience.
No, that's fine. You know, I get into these, like a lot of times people say, you know, you got to debate this guy. I got that. It's like, I forget who said this, but it's a really brilliant quote. It's like, you know, I will lose this debate, but not because I'm wrong.
Ooh, that's a good
not
one.
because I'm wrong. I will lose it because I'm not speaking your language. We're not the goal of the debate to me is one thing, and the goal of the debate to you is another thing. In the last week's show, I brought this girl, a Chik Tok video of all things. This girl was talking about the 48 laws of power. And she's this young girl, like 22 years old, who just come across the 48 laws of power. And she clearly did not read the introduction, clearly did not read all of the laws other than like the description of like the first law, like, you know, like the breakdown, like
the crib notes.
Yeah. The very first page of that chapter. Clearly didn't read that, but her instant presumption is that it's a how-to book. How to be a bastard, right? How to get other people to do the work for you and take all the credit, right?
There's a value system.
Yeah. How to use get people to come to you and use bait, right? That's another one, or whatever. Like there's lots of laws of power that you go, man, this is evil. Yeah, because that's what you're thinking. You're not thinking in terms of the practicality and the objectivity of the 48 laws of power. That's why. And try as you might, Robert Greene, back when he published it in 1998, tried to say, hey, look, they're not good or they're not evil. It's just in the applications of how they are. You probably won't want to use these. Some of these are very unethical and immoral, whatever you want to call it.
Every single one has a reason to use the opposite anyway. So even then, it's not a roadmap to anything.
But you got to know them. Well, when somebody is hit with somebody is only like a believer is only able to read language in those terms, then yeah, that's of course I can't believe this. My stars and garters, you know, they're going to use this against us. You know, that
get the fainting couch out.
Yeah.
Gadzooks.
Yes, exactly.
That dastardly bandit.
But that's what you were saying before. Is like when you hear therefore. Okay, now I know what I'm now. Got it. Okay. Red pill's a philosophy. Oh. So the goal of philosophy ever is now not about if it's right or it's wrong. It's am I good or am I evil? That's what it boils. That's the goal of the debate. That's how you know if you're dealing with somebody who's a believer or somebody who's an empiricist. Mm-hmm. Is they will couch that. They will try to couch your argument about correct, truth or not truth, like objective, fact binding. Versus, well, we know these facts, and therefore the fact that you're presenting these facts makes you evil. Because you wrote the 48 laws of power. And so therefore you must want people to be evil. No, that's not what it is. It's so you know what's going on, but that's not the conversation that we're having. Same thing with Brett Weinstein here. Let me just throw this out real quick.
Wasted potential.
Exactly. And one of the things about like Brett Weinstein, when he's talking here is he was talking about polygyny. Like, have I been saying that wrong for a long time? Maybe I have. I don't know. I thought it was polygamy, but polygamy. I know what that is. Polygyny.
Wait, the polygamy with an N?
No, he's saying polygyny. It's supposed to be polygyny, right? It's many, one man, many women.
I thought that was polygamy with the M, like a Mike.
Polygamy. I thought that was.
Then I was like, is polygamy like the neutral term for it, where it's like
Maybe.
not gender specific? Because
polygyny is like one man with lots of guys, right?
Right,
Like one man with lots of guys. One man.
Let me
with
consult the magic box.
Okay, there's my goof for today. But it's yeah, you can go look up the.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, one man, more than one wife.
Right.
One animal, more than one chick.
That's why we call it the gynocracy, or we call it gynocentric social order. Maybe we should call it gynocentric, since I guess the G is soft instead of hard now.
Oh, no, because you're thinking polygyny, which everybody mistakes it with, which is the theory that humans evolved from several independent pairs of ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I don't know. It sounds like a lot of nerd science. None of this has helped me get laid. I'm over it.
Somebody tried to school me on that recently, like the pronunciation of it. And I was like,
okay.
Well, what I mean is there's monogamy, and then the opposite of that, which I guess according to them is one man and many women. That's
See, this is why whenever I talk super smart evolutionary psychology stuff, I talk about cave Chad and caves JC.
Mm-hmm.
Can't pronounce that wrong. And if so, like I'm talking about cave Chad. This isn't science.
How long did it take me to get hypergamy instead of hypergamy?
Oh, it's like the soft G? Oh. Or like the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I like it better when I go gummy instead of gammy.
So whatever, you won the SEO on the term, so who cares?
Yeah, thank you. So anyways, the whole point that they're trying to make here is that we've gone from, and he'll talk about how it's a Christian thing, and it's a like socially enforced monogamy, which is what her father has brought up, which by the way, he didn't coin that term. That's actually a sociological term that he thought everybody knew and nobody did, and they ran him up the flagpole for it because he thought everybody in the gynocentric social order thought Jordan Peterson meant we need to like ruthlessly make women marry men that they didn't want to marry. No, that's not what it meant. But the point is that he's going from like monogamy, and I don't think he's entirely wrong. I just think he goes and they're
out of scope.
Yeah. And so when he was talking about like in polygynous societies are more war torn. Yeah. I've got there's lots and lots of research on that. The Economist had a really great one. I think it was the rise of polygyny or whatever it is. And then they studied these countries that had their basis of their, sort of intersexual dynamics was polygyny. And they tend to be more war torn. They tend to be the third world countries. Right. And so,
I mean, didn't like
trying to make
normal monogamous cities, they've had wars too. Like Europe was in war for 1,000+ years too. So it's like people are acting like the monogamous ones were all peace, love, and happiness. We're talking like a 10% difference in savagery here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fair to make that claim that, as soon as you have multiple wives, all the dudes are going to kill everybody. It's like, well, people are going to kill no matter what.
Yeah.
They'll kill slightly more.
We're in a different time. And the other thing I wanted to sort of hold his feet to the fire for is the whole thing about like, well, evolution, we should be doing good things with it. Like we're above evolution. Wow.
I watched Gattaca. I ain't doing that shit.
Go listen to Brett. If you're watching, if you ever happen to come across this video, go get The Ape That Understood the Universe by Steve Stewart Williams. I know you know who he is because that will school you in a New York minute, my friend. It's not. Yeah.
There was some guy in the 40s that used to talk about having evolution work for him. How did that work out? I can't remember.
Yeah.
He was a painter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Or Gattaca. I like that. Well, I mean, I don't think he's entirely wrong. I think we're at a point right now where we can, like, because we've tracked or we've mapped the human genome. So what is right and what is wrong according to like how we can custom and tailor make the future generations. I brought this up lots of times. It's like, should we eliminate the genetic disorder that leads to Down syndrome? Should we just remove that from humanity? More ever again will there ever be a Down syndrome kid ever again.
Imagine getting rid of sickle cell anemia as a genetic disease.
Right.
And didn't that end up being what caused like malaria, protection from malaria for the Southern African populations?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it just has like 1,000 monkeys on 1,000 typewriters vibe to it, where it's like you can start messing with this stuff, but you're not omnipotent.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to figure everything out, and you might create a blind spot. And so with that uncertainty, I lean towards it could get screwed up. It could not. At least I can guarantee that if we do it ourselves, we will screw it up.
Yes. And I'll explain. Here's the other thing. Is we're already making designer babies. I know. I in China they already are. Like I know. Forget the guy's name.
Well, abortion's kind of doing that here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing eugenics for a very long time. It's just we don't call it eugenics. We call it, safe and legal
Planned
abortion.
Parenthood.
Call it Planned Parenthood. We've been doing we've been doing eugenics with our dogs for a very long time. That's hey, I want that trait and I don't want that trait. That's pretty much what we do. We've been doing genetic manipulation for a while now. It's just now
how did we do so far on the genetics? By the way, the autism skyrocketing. So that's how the eugenics plan's working out so far.
Let me show you. Oh God,
Down syndrome.
I got a data set for you, man. So anyways, but my other point was this, like the Down syndrome example was one. The other one is this, is if homosexual people are born that way and we can genetically ensure that they won't be, that they will be born heterosexual, should we then not replace that gene and make them everyone on planet Earth, every future generation will be a heterosexual person who will only be men interested in women and women interested in men. That's
that's like dropping an N-bomb by throwing something like that out. What was his name? Milo Yiannopoulos said that, didn't he?
Yep.
He said it was better back when gays were supposed to be in the closet because then they still would have families and have babies or whatever.
I don't.
And he made the argument that like gay guys are less thirsty, so they're more creative and they do better work. But that's like those unintended consequences. That's why I don't like fucking with nature. We have a pretty good system that's just from trial and error figured it out, and we think we're smarter than that.
Because when we start messing around with that, we become less adaptive, right? Like you don't have the genes to adapt to. Like we don't know what the environment's going to change. Like the whole planet could be wiped out because we messed around, we monkeyed around with our genetics enough to the point where like maybe we should have had an immunity and we didn't. What does that sound like today?
Oops.
Or like, for instance, like, and then what happens is that if I say that, I brought this up. Do we talk about that with that fat girl who wanted to get the breast reduction that one time? I think I might have said something like that.
That genetically, you don't want to mess with your body. You don't know what the second order consequences are.
Well, here's the thing is like we've advanced technologically so much that we can now we can influence in a genetic capacity what we want to see. Our ideology will decide what future generations of human beings will be like, not outside evolution. It will be us, like,
well, who's we?
Or we can't. Yeah, that's another thing. Who's we? And who's
we?
What ideology, what dominant ideology will be the one in charge of deciding what's good and what's bad for the human race? And that's where I kind of come in here on Brett Weinstein, because he's already talking about like, oh, well, we're better than this. We've risen above evolution and we can we are masters of evolution right now. It's like, okay, great. But what happens is when you're the master of that evolution, then it's the memes. What do you believe in? What's good? Well, hey, it seems logical to me that if we can eliminate homosexuality from the genetic code, assuming it's all about genes, which I don't think it is, but assuming it is, should we not remove it? Wouldn't that be beneficial to future generations? Because
do you want me to blow your mind on this too, Rollo? Do you know what is it? You've said it yourself, how men are kind of like nature's experiment. We're the variety. We're the two sides at the bottom ends of the bell curve.
More with males whatever of a species that has the most testosterone.
Yeah, and women cluster around the mean. All these talks about genetic changes, what are they all doing? Do you notice this? Well, let's get rid of this bad thing. Well, psychopaths are useful, but we don't want psychopaths. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of Down syndrome. Let's get that. We're bringing everybody to that median. We're not thing with genetics. We need to have diversity. We need to try amping up autism here. Try making these experiments here. We're feminizing. That's the value. It's 2 X chromosomes. We're feminizing the entire society to be in the median. Now, we're not going to be alive to see if it ends that way, so thank God for that. But
yeah,
I just find right there, it kind of gives you pause. Like, I don't know, man. Like, monoculture doesn't really work. It's killing bananas. It's going to kill crops. They're basically one mutated virus away from an entire crop of corn worldwide being shut down. I don't know if we want to go there with people.
Yeah.
And it sucks because some people are going to get Downs and die, and some people are going to get autism. And Ricky Berwick, he's got his thing there. We could cure that, but damn it, I'd miss his tweets.
Ricky Berwick. Ricky, if you're watching, I love you, man.
Yeah. It's like I said, we just keep homogenizing, and I'm like, I get it. I just don't think that's going to be the best thing to do long term, but we'll never see the consequences, so who cares, right?
I think that like when we see things like the Met Gala that was just out and everybody wants to, I'm a gender bender, like that's going to make.
I made fun of all you guys for talking about that. That was so chick.
Well, I've written about this before. It's like what that is that's a push towards androgyny. It's like, no, not male, not female. And it's this want for that, thinking that that's going to be in some way the best solution. The problem, the root underlying reason for that is because they believe in the blank slate. And they believe in social constructionism, which are dead memes. Those dead memes are still could influence our future generations, because we've decided that we want more androgynous people, because that's what the ideology today is going to influence the technology to change those generations in the future. And the problem is when you lean towards androgyny, you lean towards homeostasis or homogeny, right? It's like the reason why we have such crazy extremes at both ends of the bell curve right there is because those extremes lead to more beneficial mutations, right? Again, I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a neurologist, I just play one on the internet, but this is what I have learned along the way.
Well, this isn't like PhD stuff. This is 101, evolutionary 101.
Right.
A lot of experiments, a couple successes, a shit ton of failures. Welcome to life.
I'm connecting dots, the same dots that Brett Weinstein is right here. I just did right now, but I'm not coming to the same conclusions. I'm not coming to the therefore. I'm just saying this is what could happen, and this is where the direction could be going. The other part he's talking about when it comes to monogamy, and like he's about to talk about monogamy and birth control, which is the part that I wanted to get to here. But he's very intent on trying to presume that birth control is a great thing. It's been a net benefit to human society, but the problem is he's not seeing. It's like that. Remember that part in Jurassic Park where they say, you were so busy trying to see if you could do something that you didn't stop to think if you should be doing something, like seeing the forest for the trees. I don't think we saw the forest for the trees when we were doing hormonal birth control that was unilaterally controlled by only one sex.
Time will tell. But that's the thing. I love talking about this stuff. It's fun. You can speculate. It's like reading cool science fiction. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Like, the birth control is not going away in my lifetime or yours. No, we're not going to have flipper babies or like Supermen like Gattaca in your lifetime or mine. And it's all very fun to talk about, but ideally it's not red pilled in the sense that it doesn't help you from a sexual selection standpoint.
Doesn't help you. The only way I can say that it does help you is understanding the arguments that people like the connections of the dots that I make versus the connections of dots that somebody else makes.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, that's true. The same information give you two radically different outcomes.
The same data that he does. It's just that he comes to these conclusions here. It's at 105. Let me push this.
I was kind of hoping he had like a tattoo or something,
Right. I know. I'm
RBF, man. Level 10.
I feel pretty confident in saying that he's probably not going to any key parties with Jeff and Diana.
Competition and the tendency to favor this kind of behavior goes up. Now, civilizations counteract that, right? It's very interesting that, for example, Christianity has favored monogamy, right? Even though Christianity obviously is a system in which powerful males, who would be exactly those you would expect to benefit from polygyny, have made the rules, right?
Yeah.
So really what this is an evolutionary paradox, or evolution is the solution to a paradox that we would otherwise see, where powerful males have made rules that seem to favor less powerful males and others. And the reason has to do with what we were just discussing. But
it enhances stability.
Right. It enhances stability, and therefore these belief systems have been carried along with the behaviors that have enhanced the power of those who held those belief systems.
And frankly, I think you're right that sort of the 60s, 70s is when a lot of these things began to decohere some. And this gets us back to the point about things like birth control, which is amazing and necessary. And I don't know any women who would have us go back. I don't know if I know any men who would have us go back, but I know that I don't know any women who would have us go back widely and freely available birth control. That said, once it became available, it allowed women to behave like not very interesting men sexually, as opposed to encouraging men to behave like good women. right? So we went lowest standard denominator on sexual behavior instead.
They're stealing your bit.
Used wide access to birth control, which again is a boon, as an excuse, as opposed to going like, this is amazing. Let's now be able to plan our families and not find ourselves trapped and thus in lives that we never intended for ourselves when there was a mistake that was made. But rather, let's use this and also be our best selves and not fall into, the CAD strategy of men.
So
Why should women behave like men at their worst?
Yeah, I want to refine one thing about this. Men have two reproductive strategies, right? One involves producing offspring that one does not invest in, and the other involves producing offspring that one invests heavily in. And when men are operating according to that second strategy, they are naturally similar to women in their choosiness and their behavior. So really the question is...
It's so much faster to say beta.
Yeah, he's beta. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but those red pill guys, they don't know what they're talking about.
For such smart people, they're saying such stupid things. I hate, he's talking about religion, Abrahamic religions, a couple thousand years old, right?
Right.
Anybody who knows anything about evolution knows you're talking on 20,000 years, 100,000 years. Mm-hmm. He really needs to look up Susan Blackmore and learn about memetics and tometics.
Right.
Because this is what's happening. It's not genes. Genes didn't create some situation for religion. Memetics, picking up ideas. The idea that, this tribe was doing this thing and it worked out, so other people copied them and did it. Eyeglasses are memetics. He did it. He was able to see and clear better. I think there's a great case made for it where the invention of wine, and you had to store wine in glass. Mm-hmm. So they learned to develop glass. Somebody used that glass to make glasses. And then academics were able to last another 20 years. So the introduction of scientific advancement increased exponentially. But that's not evolution. That's memetics. And I find it very disingenuous when they talk about that term, but using genes. And I get it. It's maybe because the audience doesn't know about memetics other than memes. Yeah. These guys know better, though. And I don't like how they're doing this bait and switch and loosey-goosey with the terminology.
Right.
I mean, I get it. It's a 2-hour podcast. You got to do it every week. Sometimes you're just not everyone's a banger, but still.
Right. Well, when you're mentioning memetics, there's evolution of memetics as well, right?
Yeah.
Memetics is subject to.
It runs in parallel to genetics, memetics, and now with technology, we have temetics.
Yes, ideas. You really got to read The Ape That Understood the Universe, man, and it's a fun read too.
Right.
I highly recommend that. I know I recommended Alpha God to you, but this one's a really good one because he goes into the connection between memetics and physical evolution, right? Mm-hmm. Versus memetic evolution. And what's a good idea? He presents, he had this one case where a meme, a failed meme was these guys who are when the British were colonizing certain African tribes back in the day and during the colonial time, the expanding the empire kind of thing. One of the memes that one of these tribes had is that if they believed in God enough that the bullets would pass right through them. If they did, it's and they didn't, and therefore they died. And that is a good example of a bad meme or a failed meme that affected their biology,
they move way faster than genes because somebody watching that now knows not to do that.
Yeah, anybody who believed in that meme died, and therefore the meme died with them.
Yeah, and somewhere hundreds of thousands of years ago, I don't know how long ago, there was something that happened in our brain that allowed us to pick up this memetic thing. Maybe it had to do with language. I don't know. I'm not that smart. But that was the last time that genes had an influence on this stuff. Mm-hmm. Ever since then, it's been memetics.
Yes.
Yep. We're no different than, what do they say? Cro-Magnon man started, 200,000 years ago? Mm-hmm. And genetically, we're identical to them. We could still breed. If you found a Cro-Magnon guy, put him in a time machine, he could still knock up, what the hell was that chick from the beginning? He could still knock her up with a baby mama shit if he wanted to.
Yeah, well, Heather Hayer or Hayward or Hay whatever. Hey, Heather. When she's talking about birth control, I do 100% agree. This is nothing that I haven't talked about in the past, which is that, once we hit about 1965, you can see this spike in divorces. You can see the drop in marriage.
Well, that's genetics.
Yeah, that's genetics, right? Yeah. You can see no fault divorce came after that. The free love movement came after that. The sexual revolution came after that. I mean, just look at all of the things that if you go right back to about 1965, you'll see either the spike of whatever you're looking for or the sharp decline of whatever it is that you're looking for starts right there. What was it that what crazy invention, hit humanity then? Yeah, that's it. The problem is she's presuming that birth control, like hormonal birth control for women, was like a net benefit for men. No, it wasn't, because only women could control the birth at that point. It was unilaterally a female controlled thing because women were doing the selection. But they don't want to talk about that kind of stuff because they don't want to step on the feet of anybody who would think that, like, anyone would say, oh, maybe we should rethink this whole hormonal birth control thing, which is stupid because nobody's suggesting that. Nobody's going backwards, and we don't have a time machine, so nobody's going to do that. But we do have to look at what the fallout and the results and the products of that are, so we get a better understanding what human nature is. And that's really what they're kind of avoiding right here. That's why he wants to bring up Christianity and talk about like patriarchy and patriarchal religions and stuff. And it was a buffering. And the thing is like, yeah, it was, but that's not the reason. The reason it was because you're talking about monogamy and monogamous societies that are not just Christian, by the way. There's been one man, one woman in feudal Japan. Hindu, Japan. Yeah, I mean, it's not just a Western Christianized thing, A. And then B, it's like those are monogamy versus polygyny, or again, 80%ers versus the 20%ers. Alpha seed, beta need, that exists because of women's sexual strategy. That's why that's there. The reason why that there are guys who have less sexual opportunities and there are guys who have more sexual opportunities. It's not because of some ideology. It's because that's the way we're built. That's the machine. That's the evolutionary firmware. And men exist in dominance hierarchies as a result of women's sexual selection pressures. That's why. Not because of Christianity or this or that. And in fact, if we look at socially enforced monogamy, it really starts right around the beginning of agriculture. And yes, was it a socially buffering thing? Yeah, of course it was. But you know who was still getting laid and who was still polygynous? The leaders of the church, the very powerful men.
Landowners.
Guys
would rather learn about the agricultural revolution than learn how to get laid. Yeah, I mean, there's a meme for you.
It's not just because you're enforcing all the rest of these guys to have, God said one man, one woman. But by the way, I've got my concubines over here in the Forbidden City, and they're guarded by eunuchs with their dicks cut off, and only I get to go bang those chicks whenever I want to and breed like I'm Genghis Khan. I'm going to breed like the most prolific of any guy. That's still at a time where monogamy was a thing. So it's not cad versus good guy. It's like cad versus dad is the whole rationale that they want to put this in. But again, it's not about that. It's about the actual genetic pressures or the evolutionary pressures that led them to think that that's a good idea in the first place.
Yeah, but it's a therefore. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. They could have given any gobbledygook discussion on any scientific evolutionary theory whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Everybody's sticking around for the therefore.
Yep. Yeah,
that's the part. Like I said, it's really what annoys me. Very smart people. I gotta start reading Talib because I quote his shit so much and I've never read any of it.
Yeah.
Very smart people doing very stupid things for a very ravenous audience to be pandered to. It's just annoying.
Let me get to the last bit here because this will circle us all the way back to Brittany Renner and we'll close.
Why, in a system where technology has allowed us to effectively choose what kind of behavior we want to engage in, why would we default to that initial male strategy and try and induce women to behave that way rather than urge both men and women to their better high investment strategy, which makes the world function?
Well, I can tell you one reason, Brett. It's called hypergamy. It's called, that's the innate firmware in women. What we've done is we've taken with the advent of hormonal birth control, we have removed all buffers, all restraints, all restrictions. We don't want to repress women's sexuality. Even Heather here says, we're not going back. We all agree it was a great thing, right? Well, clearly we're not going back because women don't want to give that up because that's where their basis of power is. Why do women fight tooth and nail for, safe and legal abortions? Because it's a fail-safe for what she just said, bad decisions, right?
I'm going to ruin this for you guys too. You see when he says we? We. Who's we?
Yeah.
Do you know the implications of that when he's saying we should do this, that? He's implying that there's a ruling class and an underclass. All the plebs doing this stuff. All the bad people are the underclass, and we are the upper class. There is a better group of people, and I am him. This, and I know this is going to suck for you guys to hear because I'm a fan of him too. This is Sigma male shit. This is that narcissism.
Yes.
We're better class of people. I have a PhD. You guys listen to my podcast. We're brilliant. We're the masters of the universe. And if we could just convince them, it's always like, we're smart enough to do this, but we just forgot to connect the dots. Hey, I'm here though. I'm the guy that connected the dots for you. Now this is all subtext. He doesn't consciously think this, but if you listen to the language, this is exactly what's being said. And this is why it appeals. This is why you always have Sigma MGTOW 42069 talking about, remove the woman's right to vote. We should. It's like, there's no we. If you're complaining on the internet, you're guaranteed you're one of the losers in this scenario. So it's a guy who's lost the, whatever battle, the societal battle for top dog, and then just complaining about it, and then commiserating with other people, and then monetizing that. And yeah, it absolutely, like, dude, secret king, just like random guy says.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this to shit on the guy. A lot of this stuff is very interesting. I enjoy it, learn a lot from it. Just keep that in mind. The we and the therefore.
Remember when you and I had this discussion? It's like, is this like a grift, or is this just like, does he actually believe this? And I would argue
you've swung me to your side, man.
He actually believes this.
I was much more cynical, and I regret that decision. You're right. He believes this.
Yeah, he believes.
He thinks he's the better class of person. He's like Star Trek. That's
why this is so fluid here. Is because it's like he's like, to him, this is like common sense. This is common sense to him. And I would argue he probably has never had anybody like sit him down and go, hey, you know what? The reason why would we encourage women over to men's horrible CAD like behaviors? Well, how about this, Brett? We're not. How about this? How about we unfettered hypergamy? And that's what resulted from that unfettering. Women decided that, you know what? We don't need blue pill chumps. We'll take care of that now. We have abortion, a failsafe of abortion. Where more of us are in the workplace. We're earning our degrees. We can take care of the beta buck side of hypergamy. We don't need you anymore. We want to fuck like the CADs do. You want to know why women go, well, it's so unfair that, the double standard that guys can go and bang whoever they want, and I'm a slut for doing that. Women genuinely don't understand why that is. They think that's a horrible inconvenience to them as a result of the fact it's not nobody pushed them. Say, girls, go do this, go be just like us. Nobody did that. That's where the evolutionary firmware put them in the first place.
Yeah, we set up the incentives.
Yeah.
And it's not even like a conscious thing. People are doing things. Guy invents something based on something that 8 other people invented before, who 10 other people have invented. That changes the environment. People adapt the environment based on their incentives and their values. That's what you get.
You want to get back
There's nobody at the helm. There is no we.
Yeah. You want to get back to that monogamy, that 80% or blue pill beta priority for like the guys who will invest in their kids and everything. You want to get back to that? Take away hormonal birth control. Put women back out of the workplace. That's not going to happen. I'm not suggesting that seriously, but if you want to do that, if that was the goal, because we decided that's the goal, you're not going to do that through social incentives. You got to actually take authority.
And he doesn't want that either. You've heard him on COVID talk, right?
Yeah. And that's completely an alien language to the guy, because in her too, she doesn't understand, because they're still coming from this mindset that this is a good thing. It's like, no, but the reason why we're here, the reason why women are acting like horrible men, like CAD men, is not because we've induced them to do so. That's where we go when you unfetter hypergamy, when you take away those buffers.
I'll push back on saying the good or bad. I don't want to add that to it. It is. Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, like good for who, bad for who. We could have that argument. Somebody's going to be winning. So it's good for somebody. But it just is a thing. It is what it is. And you just got to accept it. Not because it's valuable, not because it's better for you, but just you can't yell into the hurricane. Or you could. Watch George Bruno. He's really good at that. Yeah. I have any chance to shit on him, I'll take it. Him and Pat Stedman.
Healthier children with good role models. We basically defaulted to the worst or the second worst mode, depending upon how you view it. And we bypassed the obvious solution, which was to encourage responsible behavior in the context of mating and dating of a kind that has a very long history with humans.
Well, I mean, people do that because it's more fun in the short term, and we're not taught about long-term fun.
Yeah,
Comes in with the
on
marshmallow
other hand,
experiment.
I'm not sure. I think it seems like it should be more fun in
Yes.
the short term. But people are really dissatisfied. And I think that they need to notice they've never been sexually freer. But it's hard to imagine an era in which there has been so much complaining about the sexual environment. Those two things are two sides of
True.
the same
Yeah.
coin. That freedom wasn't so wonderful. And the fact is, we needed to be grateful for the freedom that was provided by birth control, and we needed to treat it carefully rather than see it as, license to get rid of all of the rules and the coherence of the system.
Yeah.
And then at the point that we did that foolishly, and it produced a huge amount of dissatisfaction and, frankly, sexual violence and all sorts of other things, this is a place where reversibility has to be the key. If it didn't work, if it produced a paradoxical outcome where instead of being
We just need to take away the
tremendously
19th
sexually
Amendment.
satisfied, people are frustrated and angry about their sex lives, then maybe the answer is, well, where was our wrong turn?
Yeah.
Now, 1965 was where our wrong turn was.
Here's the thing, too. Like, I'm going to charp on this values thing. He's talking about good and bad, right? Better, worse, sicker, whatever. How many people lived on Earth in 1960? Probably 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion. We're up to 8 now, right? In a 50-year period. I would say, if anything, you could make a good argument saying that's a success. And if 1 out of every million people is a genius who can invent some kind of awesome thing that helps humanity, well, we just created like thousands more of those guys. Is this really a failure? Is things really worse? Are we not more successful with hypergamy opened? You can make the case. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse. But he just kind of throws that out there and like, yeah, you guys buy science, right? Well, I'm just going to say this shit. And it's no different. As much as he's been very anti like the mandate, the COVID passport, he doesn't like how science is being bastardized. It's the same thing. Just different values attached to it. And that's what drives me nuts.
Right.
It's like, dude, you're not helping. You're just on the losing side of this argument over who gets to put the boot on your neck. That's all it is.
I'm wondering like what his intent in this is, because I have seen him moderate debates between like Jordan Peterson and like I forget the guy's name, but the very renowned atheists before. So he knows Peterson's, and this is his daughter, right? But he knows Peterson's audience, and Peterson's audience loves her to death too, right? So I'm wondering what his angle is on this, because a lot of the stuff he talks about is like he's trying to make a case for a particular ideological bent by ignoring facts that he's well aware of. That's that's like the frustration that I have with these dudes.
I think he's listening too much to his audience. I think it's the same as Peter. We talk about this too, like what kind of stuff gets better reach or different types of demographics. I always say like my goal is to have the least autistic audience in the manosphere. So we already know that to some extent the things you say will change the type of person that appeals to your thing. I think he's going through the same thing that Peterson does, where he wants mass market appeal, like more is good is better, as opposed to the limitable man approach of I'm going to put my thing out there. And if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. And I it's hard because YouTube and Twitter and everybody, they incentivize the pandering. Likes, view time, and clicks.
Right.
Basically, every YouTuber, guys, I'll tell you right now, they want you to click their thing. They want you to watch all of their thing. And they want you to like all their tweets. And the best way to get that done is to tell you exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah. What is your pet insecurity, fear, or gripe? Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, what's that Man Bun podcast you had? How many subscribers do they probably have right now? 1,000? Million?
Man Bun? Which one? Oh, you mean
yeah, whatever it is.
Saldoni? Yeah, Justin Salt. Am I right? Justin Saldoni. I think something like that. But yeah,
it's just like I told you guys during Rule Zero.
It'll be at 1 million subs by December, guaranteed.
Because they're telling people what they want to hear. I said it. I made decisions in my life that are probably not going to maximize profitability, and I knew it. And I didn't want to belabor John for his $1 million projects and that stuff, but I'm like, there's choices that you have to make and there's consequences. In this case, I think he's made the choice that he wants a larger audience and less, I don't want to say purity, but consistency, I guess, of the message.
Mm-hmm. Well,
which then creates an ecosystem because now there's like a whole ecosystem of people that just get to call him an asshole because he's
let
wrong.
me end we'll wrap this up right here, Ryan. Because this brings us back around. It says, okay, and this is AI and ML. 10 times, guys. Men can control physical birth control. Use a condom and don't care about hormone control. No. Why are you caring so much? Okay, well,
he's right, but
he's
yeah.
right. Do you think PJ Washington wore a condom?
I bet you anything. His social circle and all the women around him think that condoms are beta. Condoms are for simps.
Oh man, in California, we're going to make it illegal for a guy to stealth, right? I talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
To stealth. You can't take the condom off in the middle of the thing because then that's no longer consent. And therefore, a woman can accuse you of rape for that, right? That's
weird too, because they're all about, who's the guy that just went to prison for or he was in 10 years in the Ecuadorian embassy there? Why can I not remember his name? The WikiLeaks guy.
Yeah. God damn it. Somebody will come up with a name.
All right. Anyways, WikiLeaks boy, whatever.
Yeah.
Point is, he had to be like in exile for 10 years for that exact issue. And I'm surprised California was all on yeah, we hate Bush. We love this guy. And now this exact thing that fucked him, they're like, yeah, let's make it law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ, boys. Come on.
I'll tell you what's funny is it's mostly women. It's not Snowden, is it? No, it was.
No, not Edward Snowden, the other guy.
The other
Assange.
Assange. Yeah. Julian Assange.
Yeah.
The thing is in fact, there's niches of porn where women want you to start banging them with the condom and then take it off because it's dangerous, right? I mean, that's a niche of porn. It's not men who are pulling off the condom mid-stroke. It's women who go, I want to feel you. There you go. That's your answer to that question right there.
I don't want to sleep with a garbage bag. I've heard that before.
Right. And
it scared the shit out of me too.
How many times did PJ Washington knock it out with Brittany Renner before he married her or whatever? How many times did he knock it out with her with a condom on and then went bareback after that? That's the question is that it's like, well, I'm on the pill. Don't worry about it. Which again brings us full circle all the way back to our good friends, the Weinstein couple here, and not understanding the simple fact. I think they do understand this. I just don't think they want to address this very obvious empirical truth, which is when we gave women hormonal birth control, we unfettered hypergamy. They are the way they are, not because guys encouraged them to, not because society pointed them in that direction. It's because they had no more use. And here we are in 2021, no more use for a beta bucks guy. Provisioning, parental investments, and protection mean far less to a woman in 2021 than they did when in 1965.
We did it, boys. We fixed it.
Yeah, we fixed it. Yeah. And they will never come to that conclusion because it goes against their ideology. It goes against, and it won't even occur to, it's not even a thought in their head that might be the case. That's the difference between me connecting dots, and that's the difference between guys like that are connecting dots, because
that's the difference between that and guys like you, because you know better now. You're listening for the we's and the therefores and the better. And then you're going to make better decisions, and you're not going to trust her. And you're like, no, I don't think you are on birth control. And you're not going to call up and say you're a good person, so she puts you on blast. You're gonna have that hike earlier, and so you want to go to bed.
Brittany Renner does not exist, and that other girl who was talking about sugaring does not exist, and the girl that's in Ryan's video does not exist because guys push them in that direction. Brittany Renner is not a psychotic freak planning to have a baby out of wedlock, or actually to get a guy and finesse a guy, get a baby, lock this guy down. And I don't know if it's $200,000 a month. It might be less now. I don't know what the real details are, but it's a lot of money. Let's just be honest here, okay?
It's more money than work.
Why is it that the primary source of women's windfall income is divorce? Why? Not because we created this, or we said, hey, you know what? Women should be more like Brittany. That'd be a good idea. We should all have a polygynous lifestyle. No, that's the most obvious pragmatic choice when women don't need you anymore. They don't need protection, provisioning, or parental investment anymore. It's not guys who aren't wanting to invest in their kids. Women don't want it either because it's already done, either by the state or resource transfer or whatever else, as a result of having fail-safes like birth control, like abortion and everything else. That's how you get Brittany Renner. The end.
Thanks, guys. We're here till Thursday.
Thank you. I'll try the veal. Yeah. All right. So what do you got going on, Ryan? What's going on this week?
Honestly, I'm just putting out mids watches once a week. I'm working on book 2. I'm actually making some good progress, so I got that. And I'm just putting a link in the chat to the new video. Watch this one if you want to.
There you go. Yeah.
It's a thematic thing, so you got to watch the whole thing. It's definitely a lot of fun. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. Digital Ryan is actually doing well. That's my Why I Left the Manosphere channel now. It's just, it's more like this, but I thought about your old hunting thing where guys like, you stare, you do your thing, and you talk like this. I'm like, well, if I'm online, why don't I just do that with Minecraft? And then sure enough, the guys love it. And they're talking about their marriages and their relationships and their game. And I'm sitting there and making like the glory holes and the wall, making the wall, the 30-year-old wall, just chucking shit at whatever. All the guys being stupid here, and they seem to like it. So come subscribe to that. It's Digital Ryan. You'll like it. Channel's
bigger than anything else you do.
Yep. Yeah, it probably will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just beyond those two, just, Fuck Files is still there. The audiobook is still there. They're doing awesome. Follow me on Twitter. Rule Zero is always good. And I'm tired of you. Look, I like you guys. But if I have to hear another one of you guys, like I've been watching Rule Zero religiously for 2 years. I finally watched one of your videos and I'm like, I wish I had started 2 years ago. I'm telling you guys, you don't have to like it, but just start now. So that way we don't have to, I've been watching you for 5 years and I finally checked your channel out. Yeah. Those are annoying. We can do better.
It's funny to me when I still get people go, hey, what's going on with you and Anthony Johnson? Like,
holy shit, still?
Yeah, like 2.5 years later, it's like, well, I think that's probably let the 2.5 years speak for itself.
Yeah.
But every time this year, man, every time of year, like right when the fall leaves start to fall off the trees, that's when I know there's going to be another like rehashed hit piece video because, is it time for that convention in Orlando again?
Oh, I'd love to hear about Nelly Bowles again.
Yeah, let me till the fields a little bit more. I did not leave the manosphere. The manosphere left me. I'm going with that one.
I like that.
Yes, I am not leaving the manosphere. The manosphere left me. The big news, of course, is that the Audible version of The Rational Male Religion is now available on Audible. It has been actually since, I believe, Thursday. If it is not available in your country, by the way, like some people are asking me, like saying, oh, I can't get it in India. I can't get it here. Give it a little time. It takes at least 72 hours since the time it dropped to get to like certain countries. Right now, I know that it's available in the United States, the UK, France, Germany, Canada, and I don't know what else. There's some other ones too. But if it's not in your country yet, relax. It will be very soon. And I'm sure there'll be pirated copies of it because that's what everybody seems to want to do. So anyways, I am rapidly closing in on the final edits of book 5 right now, which is the book on game.
Nice.
Which I'm calling the Player's Handbook. I've been convinced. I think I will call it that. Other than that, go pick and if you haven't picked up The Rational Male, the first one, please go do that. And or if you like it on Kindle, I need to put out a poll. that asks this question: like, have you maybe I should ask you, Ryan, have you read a physical book in the last year, like in the last 9 months?
Well, yes.
Or
technically,
or Kindle.
Troy's Dating Over 40. I finally I read yours again, but physical copy. Read mine, Gendernomics 2. Got a couple other ones that are unrelated to, but it's only just started recently. For the longest time, it was just either Kindle or nothing.
Yeah, because I'm getting because I am like my reach, let's just say, with my Audible is like crazy right now. But like Kindle, it's okay. Physical books are always going to be what they are, which is good. But I'm wondering if more people aren't just simply not reading anymore, and they would rather listen to a book than they would.
I think it's listening, because I've noticed the same thing. Like my audiobook is just way further than like Kindle and paper combined. It's like 60% audio, 40% the rest.
I am.
It is what it is.
I'm presently so I finished the Ape That Understood the Universe, and I'm presently listening to a book called The Rise of Neo-Feudalism, which I think is really and I know it might be a little dry for some people. It's very statistics heavy, right? But one of the stats was that only 1 in 10 like high school students or college students actually read for pleasure anymore. So
it's too bad. It's kind of fun.
90% of people don't read anymore. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, no, Nick August has put me, actually the one I really love. It's, you remember Red Dawn, the movie?
Yeah.
Well, there was some guy wrote a book on it. It's over here.
Mhm.
Oliver Lange. It's like he wrote a book that they stole and they did the screenplay on it. It's actually a pretty fun read. But yeah, I didn't notice that. Just reading some old fiction from like the 60s and 70s. I'm like, I'm kind of getting into it. It's light. It's easy to follow. You can kind of picture the movie in your head as you go. I probably would stick to audiobooks for very like academic type stuff because I find it's easier to listen than to read it because I hate having to scan the same line 7 times. But yeah.
I do both actually, depending on the book.
Read it
Especially
while
some-
listening to it?
Well, I listen to certain books. Like I'm good with those. Like I can listen to fiction. I have to be careful with fiction because if I'm listening to fiction, I can't really listen to it. I have to be like focusing on what's going on. I find that if it's like something that's like 8-bit understood the universe, something that's nonfiction and data driven, then I can listen to that. But
did you listen or did you read Dune? Because I know you've read it again.
I've read Dune. I've read Dune probably 4 times. Yeah,
Same. But did you do it again this year?
I read Dune throughout 2020 because I thought the damn movie was coming out in fall, and then they push it back a year, and I was pissed, man. But anyway.
It's a fun read, but damn, is it dense.
Oh, it's great too. There's so like people ask me like, do you read fiction? Does anybody read fiction? Because if you do, there's something wrong with you. You need to be reading stuff that's going to benefit your life, like how to be a better guy, and 4-minute work week or whatever the hell it is, right?
No, read if you haven't read Dune, read Dune.
Read Dune. There's so much in there and it's not just like you have to. I'm wondering if a lot of people can't like relate to Dune or it doesn't resonate with them as much because people are too literal right now. They're too autistic. They have to have some kind of it has to be beat over the head, like for them to get an allegory or a metaphor. Or
it's almost like a skill you can learn by reading more.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyways, all right. I don't want to keep you anymore, man. Thanks for joining me today, Ryan.
It's always fun, man.
Good that you guys have got some value out of this. I think you probably did. I will see you guys again on Wednesday. Be sure to check out my clips channel. There is a new clip every other day at the very least. So go check that out. And I am hosting Rule Zero on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And that will be the next time you see us together. See you later. Thanks, Ryan. We'll see you again. Bye.
When we go